Hey everyone, welcome to FanFic Canon. Thanks for hitting play. I'm thrilled to bring this fan-made story to life for you. If you enjoy the ride and want more narrated fanfics, smash, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss an episode. And if you want audiobook of a novel of your choice, join my Patreon. Request any title that's freely available online, and I'll produce a full narration just for you. Now, let's dive into today's adventure.
What's the solution? The moment Zheng spoke, the three of them turned to him at the same time, eyes sharp, voices impatient. Zheng paused for a second, thinking carefully before answering. I'm not completely sure it'll work, but we can try this. He looked at Magneto. I'll transfer Xuanzang Sanzang's command spell authority to you. You take her to join the mutants. Everyone froze. Zheng continued, explaining the logic step by step. Once she officially becomes part of the mutant side, the mutants will count as her faction. Then her skills should activate. A good plan. A clean plan. But Zheng expression shifted slightly, and for the first time his confidence wavered. Only one problem, he said quietly. I don't know if Magneto can endure it. Magneto's lips curled into a calm, arrogant smile. I am Magneto. Omega level, a king among mutants. Even if Zheng was terrifyingly strong, Magneto wasn't some weakling either. Zheng nodded. Fine. He stepped forward. Hold out your right hand. Magneto did it immediately. Zheng placed his own hand over Magneto's, the command spell glowing against the skin. A burst of light flared between their palms. For a moment, it looked like the air itself was burning. Then Zheng lifted his hand away. On Magneto's arm, 3 bright red command spells appeared, sharp and vivid like fresh scars. Magneto blinked, and instantly he felt it. A strange, invisible connection forming in his chest, like a chain snapping into place. His gaze turned to the black-haired woman, standing quietly beside Zheng. He could feel it clearly now. That link was coming from her. So it worked. Zheng let out a slow breath, relief flashing in his eyes. He hadn't gambled wrong. Even though this world didn't have a Merlin maintaining a magic foundation, the mutant ability in Marvel was still a kind of supernatural power. A different form, but close enough. If Loki had once been able to bear the command spell, then Magneto should have been able to handle it too. Or at least, that's what Zheng thought. But the relief didn't last even 5 seconds. Magneto's face suddenly went pale. His body shook. Then he dropped to one knee, breathing hard like someone had punched the air out of him. Everyone reacted instantly. What happened? Spider-Man blurted out. Magneto clenched his teeth, voice strained. My mutant ability, it's draining away. Zheng eyes narrowed. He understood immediately. This wasn't normal exhaustion. This was magic overdraft. The command spell power was crushing Magneto from the inside, forcibly pulling energy from his body like a siphon. Zheng stepped in, fast and firm. Use the command spell. Replenish yourself. He guided Magneto through it directly, not wasting time. Magneto gritted his teeth and activated it. Then again, one after another, the 3 command spells burned away. Only after the last one disappeared did Magneto finally breathe properly again. He looked terrible, still pale, still shaky, but at least he could stand. And the moment the 3rd command spell vanished, Xuanzang Sanzang's body shimmered. She turned into countless glowing particles, dissolving softly into light. Then she vanished completely, returning to the heroic spirit library. Spider-Man stared at the empty space, shocked. What just happened to that lady? Zheng answered calmly. Magneto used all 3 command spells. That forced Sanzang to return to me. Don't worry, she's my servant. I can summon her again when the time comes. Hearing that, Peter Parker finally relaxed. No one had died. No one had been erased. But Black Widow, standing off to the side, didn't relax at all. Her eyes sharpened. Her expression turned thoughtful. She was already calculating what this meant and how dangerous it could become later. Meanwhile, Magneto's face darkened. He had just declared he could handle it. And seconds later, reality slapped him straight in the mouth. Zheng didn't sugarcoat it. Magneto can't bear the power required by my servant. Spider-Man frowned. Then what now? We're stuck. Zheng shook his head. No, there's one person who can. He spoke the name like it was obvious. Loki. He has summoned my servant before. Black Widow's eyes lit up immediately. I know where Loki is. That made things simple. Zheng didn't hesitate. Then we go to Loki. As for whether Loki would refuse, Zheng didn't even consider it. Refusal was not an option. Loki might not be good at many things, but there was one thing he was world-class at, reading the room. He would never be stupid enough to say no to Zheng. They still had 1 week before Xuanzang Sanzang's card entered its frozen period. 1 week to prepare. 1 week to set the board. Zheng quickly assigned roles. He looked at Black Widow. Go back to the Avengers. Keep watch. If anything happens, report to me immediately. She nodded once, already moving. Magneto was next. Return to the mutant camp. Start preparing the way. Loki will be joining. Magneto didn't look happy, but he didn't argue. He turned and left. Then Zheng looked at Peter Parker. You're in New York. Find allies. Spider-Man straightened. Serious for once. There'll be more villains like Magneto who got reversed, right? Zheng nodded. And those people could become our biggest weapons. Peter Parker's eyes sharpened. Got it. Now the last piece was clear. Zheng would personally go to Loki. Before they split up, Spider-Man suddenly raised his hand like he couldn't hold it in anymore. Wait! Since we're basically a team now, the other three didn't react much. They clearly didn't care about team names. But Peter Parker was already smiling, excited like a kid. Why don't we give ourselves a name? Silence. Zheng didn't answer. Magneto looked away. Black Widow didn't even blink. Spider-Man, completely unfazed, declared proudly, let's call it the rescue team. He pointed at all of them like a cheesy superhero poster. Because we're saving the world now. According to Black Widow's intel, Loki was in Las Vegas. And he wasn't alone. Inside one of the loudest casinos on the Strip, a blond man with a thick beard and heroic-looking armor was slumped beside a card table, completely drunk. He slammed his palm down and yelled like the whole place belonged to him. One more hand. Then he pushed every last chip he had forward. All of them. The people around the table went silent, because those chips weren't pocket change. That pile had to be worth tens of millions. A well-dressed man in a black suit stepped in beside him, calm as always, voice smooth and persuasive. Brother, you shouldn't be here. New York is in chaos. As a hero, you should go back and save the world. The drunk blond man slowly lifted his head. It was Thor, one of the Avengers. Thor stared at him like he'd heard the most annoying thing imaginable. When did you start caring about that? He snapped. And don't call me brother. His eyes burned with anger. You adopted bastard. None of us ever treated you like family. Loki's face instantly fell into a hurt, tragic expression. Brother, why would you say that? He whispered. We're family. I love you. Thor's patience shattered. Get lost. He swung his fist without holding back. Loki was launched across the casino like a rag doll, smashing into the wall with a thunderous crash. The impact blew a hole straight through it, chunks of stone and dust raining down. For a second, the casino froze. Then security guards rushed in, guns raised, shouting orders. Thor clicked his tongue, annoyed more than threatened. What a damn killjoy. He stood up, cracked his neck like nothing happened, and casually knocked aside the guards with his bare hands. Then he walked out the main entrance like he was leaving a bar fight he didn't even enjoy. From the shadows of a corner booth, Zheng watched the whole scene, and he couldn't stop himself from laughing. Loki, the so-called god of mischief, the one who used to look at Thor with hatred and disgust, always plotting, always bitter. Now he was trailing after him like a clingy wife, throwing out, I love you with a straight face. If Loki ever returned to normal and remembered this, he'd probably want to strangle himself. Zheng Bin strolled over to the destroyed wall. Loki was lying in the rubble, dust on his hair, expression filled with pure grievance. Zheng Bin stopped beside him. Need help? Loki turned his head, eyes widening. Mr. Zheng? Zheng Bin bent down and grabbed his arm, pulling him up like he weighed nothing. Once Loki steadied himself, he looked embarrassed, adjusting his suit and trying to regain some dignity. I'm sorry, Mr. Zheng, you had to see that. Zheng Bin smiled like he understood everything. It's fine. Then his tone sharpened just slightly. Let's talk somewhere private. I have a way to make Thor return to normal. Loki's eyes lit up instantly. His whole posture changed. I'm willing, he said fast. I'm willing to save the world. The moment the words came out, he practically started glowing with righteous energy. So bright it almost looked holy. Zheng Bin's eyelid twitched. He had to look away for a second. He cleared his throat. Good. Then stay here and keep an eye on Thor. If anything happens, contact me immediately. Loki nodded hard, serious as if he'd just received a sacred mission. When I finish handling everything, Zheng Bin said, turning to leave, I'll come back for you. The United States was in chaos now. Things changed every day. Zheng Bin had barely been away from New York for one day when Black Widow called him. Ben, I just got new information, she said. Her voice was tight. Someone wearing Tony Stark's old battlesuit flew to San Francisco and started fighting Tony Stark. Zheng Bin's gaze turned cold. Understood. He didn't waste time. I finished my work here. Loki agreed to my request. I'm heading to San Francisco now. Okay, Black Widow replied. Be careful. Zheng Bin summoned Francis's golden deer and boarded without hesitation. The ship burst through the sky, cutting across the distance like a spear. San Francisco came into view in no time, and the moment he arrived, he heard it, the screaming metal, the thunder of explosions. Zheng Bin looked up. In the sky above the city, steel armor clashed like a swarm of angry machines. A red and gold suit fought at the center, and it was being surrounded. Dozens of black armored suits circled it, firing nonstop like wolves tearing down prey. The red and gold armor was already destroyed. Bullet holes riddled its frame. Scorch marks cut across the plating. Its right arm was gone completely. It was still fighting with only its left hand, but it was losing. Fast, one of the black suits lined up a shot. A beam struck the red and gold suit directly in the chest. The glowing core light flickered, dimmed, and finally went dark. The suit stopped moving, then dropped from the sky like a dead weight. Zheng Bin's eyes widened. Francis, catch him. Yes, master. The golden deer surged forward, positioning itself beneath the falling armor. The broken suit slammed down onto the deck with a heavy crash. Metal shattered, plating cracked. Pieces scattered across the wood like wreckage from a war zone. Zheng Bin stepped forward immediately, eyes scanning for a body. But when he looked inside, there was no one. The suit was empty. No pilot, no blood, no Tony Stark. Just cold steel. Zheng Bin's voice lowered. Unmanned mecha? A remote-controlled Iron Man suit. Or something worse. Zheng Bin took the armor away and took it back to restore it. He was very curious about what instructions the armor received and what it did that caused it to be surrounded and beaten by other armors. Zheng Bin took out a data cable and inserted it into the transmission port of the mecha. The appearance of the armor was obviously Tony Stark's masterpiece, and he really deserved to be the top figure in this industry. Zheng Bin used a computer to crack his program, and it took nearly 6 hours to remove the first line of defense. This program is very cleverly designed. If you accidentally trigger a hidden vulnerability, it will trigger the system's protection program. This will lead to 2 results. One is that the 657th program is restored, and he has to start cracking again. The second possibility is that the program is automatically destroyed. No matter which one, Zheng Bin doesn't want to see it, so he is very alert and cautiously tries. After a while, a sharp alarm sounded on the computer. Zheng Bin sighed secretly. He had never come into contact with this kind of security program before, and it was too difficult for him to get started the first time. He saw that all the letters in the program box disappeared and turned blank. Just when he thought that the cracking failed this time, and the program was automatically destroyed, a few letters suddenly popped up from the program box. It said, "Who are you?" Zheng raised his eyebrows and directly entered his name. "I am Zheng." Countless letters suddenly appeared on the screen. In Zheng's view, these were all meaningless garbled characters. Suddenly, all the letters disappeared, and the screen turned blank again. "Zheng, hello, I am Tony Stark." Tony Stark's voice came from the computer. Upon hearing this familiar voice, Zheng's heart was immediately full of vigilance. Countless thoughts flashed through his mind. Could it be that Tony Stark deliberately acted to let him get this armor? What was his purpose? Tony Stark seemed to see through Zheng's thoughts and said to him, "The Tony Stark who has not been affected by me is not the one who is now in San Francisco." Zheng's first reaction after hearing this was suspicion. Tony Stark is a genius. He is too smart. If it was a former Tony Stark, it would be fine. He had more kindness and sense of justice than anyone else in the world. But the current Tony Stark is just a jerk without any bottom line. He is using his own way to adapt the world to what he wants. Facing such a person, Wu dared not relax at all. Tony Stark in the computer did not hear Zheng's voice. He knew that the other party would definitely not believe what he said, so he had to continue saying, "A long time ago, I backed up my mind to a hard drive, and I erased this matter from my memory, because I don't remember it all. After I changed my personality, I didn't destroy the backup. I did this at the time because I was afraid that the current situation would happen, an out-of-control, corrupted, evil Tony Stark. Now I am the biggest threat to the Earth." Zheng was unmoved after listening and just asked, "What evidence do you have to prove what you said?" "Little Pepper Pep, she will tell you everything." After Tony Stark said this, the program box disappeared. At the same time as the program box disappeared, Zheng's phone rang. He took out his cell phone, which showed a hidden number. "Hello. Hello, Mr. Zheng. I'm Pepper. I have something to tell you." A female voice came from the phone. "It's just that now all the calls in the world are monitored by Tony, and the blocking here can't last long. Can we meet and talk?" "Sure." Pepper quickly said an address, and then said to Zheng in a sincere tone, "Mr. Zheng, we really need you now. Please come as soon as possible." After hanging up the phone, Zheng opened the page of the phone and clicked a few times. The phone automatically started to crack the call blocking and try to locate the real address. The mobile phone page popped up a prompt. "The first crack failed. Try again. 066112424Fulu18116010. The second crack failed. Try again. The third crack failed. Try again. The 20th crack failed." Zheng looked at the display on the phone and raised his eyebrows. This software was developed by him 0.1, which is specifically used to locate the address of incoming calls. He set up countless cracking methods in it. If the phone hides the address, it will automatically identify the best cracking method. Now, if it still fails after trying so many times, it means that the other party's technology is better than his. Zheng has always been confident in his technology. He believes that there is only one person in the world who is better than him. That is Tony Stark. He is very sure that the shielding of this phone must be done by Tony Stark. I don't know if this meeting with Pepper is a trap, or it will give him a powerful ally. Zheng arrived at the place that Xiao Lajiao said. This is an abandoned factory located in the suburbs of San Francisco. After Zheng walked in, he did not see Xiao Lajiao. There were only some garbage and rusty steel bars inside. When he walked to an abandoned tractor, the tractor suddenly made a mechanical sound. The tractor split into two, and the ground below also cracked a huge amount of gap, and a staircase with no one appeared in front of him. It seemed that this meant for him to go down. Zheng walked down without hesitation. When he walked down the stairs, the ground closed again, and there was no trace of 24. The floor of the staircase was made of unknown material, and was emitting blue light, illuminating the road under his feet. The stairs were unexpectedly long, and Zheng walked for a long time before he saw anything other than the stairs and the wall. A metal door appeared in front of him. As if sensing his arrival, the door opened automatically. The whole wall of the room behind the door was a display, and a steel battlesuit was constantly tapping keys inside, and it was unknown what it was typing. Pepper stood in the center of the room, smiling and welcoming Zheng Bin. "Mr. Zheng, I appreciate your trust and willingness to be here." Zheng Bin nodded to Pepper and looked at the busy steel battlesuit. According to what Tony Stark said to him in a computer, this battlesuit should also be installed with Tony Stark's mind. The battlesuit stopped what he was doing, turned around, and greeted Zheng Bin. "Hi, you are the one who communicated with me in the computer before?" Zheng Bin asked directly. The battlesuit nodded, walked to the sofa, sat down, and then crossed his legs. He pointed to the sofa opposite and said, "Sit down and talk." This humanized action is exactly the same as Tony Stark himself. If you don't know the truth, you will definitely think that the person being controlled inside is Tony Stark. Who would have thought that there was nothing inside, and it was controlled by an AI? Zheng Bin sat on the sofa. "Which year are you, Tony Stark?" 3 years ago. Zheng Bin calculated the time, which was exactly when Tony Stark became Iron Man. He had actually prepared for so long ago. Can you control several battlesuits at the same time? So even if the battlesuit is destroyed, it doesn't matter, you are still safe? Tony Stark shook his head. "No, the battlesuit you saw before was not controlled by me. Pepper introduced a backup mind into that battlesuit. So that battlesuit was also an independent Tony Stark. After it was destroyed, Pepper put the backup into a new battlesuit, which is me you see now. After you failed to crack the system, you entered your name and triggered the highest authority, so I can find you." Highest authority? Zheng Bin felt very strange. 3 years ago was when he and Tony Stark just met. At that time, his relationship with SHIELD was very tense, and Tony Stark should be full of hostility towards him, right? Tony Stark fell into silence when he heard Zheng Bin's question. "Mr. Zheng, come here." Pepper noticed the situation on Tony Stark's side and quickly helped him out. Zheng Bin heard Pepper's voice and walked over. "What's wrong?" Pepper took out a small square black box. It was unknown what material the box was made of. The file size was only a few centimeters. "Mr. Zheng, I hope you can help keep this. This is a backup of Tony's D. Tony Stark is too scary now. I don't know how long I can keep him. It's safest to hand it over to you." Zheng Bin saw Pepper's desperate expression and solemnly took the backup. "Don't worry. This situation won't last too long. I will make the world normal soon." Pepper thought Zheng Bin was comforting her and could only smile reluctantly. Suddenly, there was a violent shaking in the room, and gravel kept falling from the ceiling. Tony Stark immediately walked to the screen, pressed a few times on the keyboard, and turned on the surveillance outside the factory. A white Iron Man was floating in the sky with a group of black steel battlesuits, firing laser cannons at the factory. "I'm here," Tony Stark said. "Leave here immediately. This place can't withstand such a fierce attack. It will collapse soon." The white Iron Man floated in the air with the latest unmanned battlesuit he developed. His white armor has also been improved. In addition to the improvement of weapons and armor performance, the position of his helmet face has also been replaced with transparent graphene. According to him, this allows everyone to see his perfect appearance. At the moment, through his transparent helmet, it can be clearly seen that he has an evil smile on his face. After a while, he saw a huge silver sphere breaking out of the ground and flying up. The smile on the white Iron Man's face faded. "What is this thing? It looks a bit familiar. Is it a new weapon developed by his AI?" The silver sphere seemed to melt and gradually disappeared, and the several people wrapped in the sphere were completely exposed to the white Iron Man. At this time, the white Iron Man smile completely disappeared. In addition to the golden red steel battlesuit and Pepper, there are 2 people here who are beyond his expectations. Zheng Bin and a man wearing complicated ancient costumes. He had seen this man before. After seeing these 2 people, the white Iron Man knew that things were not going well and hurriedly increased the firepower of the jets under his feet, trying to leave quickly. Tony Stark was the first to discover the intention of the white Iron Man. "He wants to leave." Tony Stark flew up to stop him, but was blocked by the group of unmanned battlesuits. The unmanned battlesuit raised his hand and fired laser cannons at Tony Stark. The dense artillery fire made it impossible for him to escape, and he could only dodge in embarrassment. Damn it! The first emperor stopped the white battlesuit. Zheng Bin said the servant he had just summoned. Qin Shi Huang was standing aside, looking indifferent. After hearing Zheng Bin's words, he casually ejected a silver bead in the direction of Tony Stark. The bead flew toward the direction of the white Iron Man, like a cannonball. The speed of the silver bead was so fast that it was impossible for ordinary people to see it. It flew in front of Iron Man. In an instant, the silver bead melted in front of Tony Stark and turned into a huge amount of mercury wall in front of him. The speed and shape of the bead changed so fast that even the battlesuit system did not have time to respond. The white Iron Man hit the wall heavily. His original speed was extremely fast, and he hit the special mercury of the first emperor, which was even harder than his battlesuit. Countless cracks appeared on the battlesuit, and Tony Stark inside fainted directly. The white Iron Man fell from the air. The silver wall instantly turned into a huge amount of tray, causing the white Iron Man to fall in the middle. The silver tray flew in front of Zheng Bin and the first emperor. Question mark. Pepper was a little overwhelmed. Is this solved? Zheng Bin saw that the golden red battlesuit was still standing in the air with difficulty against other battlesuits. He knew how much the first emperor hated these foreigners and did not intend to ask the first emperor for help anymore. He was more than enough to deal with these battlesuits. A black sword condensed in Zheng Bin's hand. This was the treasure that he inherited from Siegfried. He snapped his fingers with his other empty hand and performed a wind magic. He flew from the ground to the air. Zheng Bin raised the sword and flew toward the battlesuit. Many unmanned battlesuit systems detected Zheng Bin's intrusion and turned around to attack him. Several palm-running lasers shot at him. Zheng Bin flexibly dodged the attack and gently swung a sword at the battlesuit. A sword energy passed by, and several sparks flashed on the unmanned battlesuits that were attacked. And then the lights on their chests went out at the same time, and they fell from the sky. After Zheng Bin attracted most of the firepower, Tony Stark also eliminated the remaining small part of the armor. The two flew down from the sky together and landed next to the white Iron Man. The white Iron Man's helmet has been taken off by pepper pods, and his face is covered with scars. At this moment, he has his eyes tightly closed and is still in a coma. Let me take him away. Zheng Bin plans to take Tony Stark back to New York. Such a dangerous man should be locked up first. When San Zhang's card can be used, he will be released after he regains consciousness. Tony Stark, standing aside, heard it and stopped him. Wait! I have a way to eliminate his influence. The golden red battlesuit tapped Tony Stark's white battlesuit a few times, and the white battlesuit was easily taken off. Then, the golden red battlesuit disintegrated and reassembled on Tony Stark's body. Tony Stark said to Zheng Bin, I will now transfer the backup to this Tony Stark's consciousness to erase his negative influence. If it fails, I will erase his consciousness and replace him as the real Tony Stark. Okay, Zheng Bin agreed. I'll wait for you here. Tony Stark stopped talking, and he didn't make a sound for a long time. Pepper looked at the armor with a worried look. She has always been the person closest to Tony Stark. During this period, she has seen everything Tony Stark has done. She only feels scared about Tony Stark's changes and what he has done. So she is also the person who most wants to see Tony Stark eliminate the influence on the scene. The helmet of the steel battlesuit 463 opened, and Tony Stark's injured face appeared in front of everyone. He looked over with a tired face. He succeeded. I'm back. Tony. Pepper cried with joy, rushed to Tony Stark, and hugged him tightly. Tony Stark patted Pepper's shoulder and comforted him, then looked at Zheng Bin. Thank you for your help. Let's meet up later. Zheng Bin looked carefully at the expression on Tony Stark's face. His eyes were no longer cold, but began to warm up, and the whole person looked much gentler. Zheng Bin nodded. Okay. During the days when Zheng Bin was waiting for San Zhang to freeze time, he did not return to New York, but went to Las Vegas to stay with Loki. He was very relieved about the 3 people in New York. Now the key to getting the mutant camp back to normal is Loki. During the days in Las Vegas, he was amazed at the changes in Loki. My brother, he doesn't want to be like this. He used to be kind. My brother, Every day, Zheng Bin listened to Loki bragging about how good Thor was, and he felt like he was going to vomit. Thor was the same as before, and he lingered in the casino every day after his temperament changed. Loki followed Thor every day like a pug, and when Thor got impatient, he beat him up and left with a bruised face. It was so shameless that people couldn't stand it. Fortunately, Zheng Bin didn't have to endure this kind of life for too long. Soon it was a day when the freeze time of Sanzang's card ended. As before, after a burst of strong light, Xuanzang Sanzang was summoned. Master, Zheng Bin asked Sadie, Loki, where's Thor? Help him return to normal now. Loki took Zheng Bin and Sanzang to a casino. At this time, he should be playing baccarat in there. Sure enough, the three of them saw Thor next to the card table. See that big guy sitting at the card table? Eliminate his negative state. Xuanzang Sanzang nodded, glanced at Loki, and asked Zheng Bin, What about him? He is also in a negative state. Do you want me to eliminate it first? Don't. Zheng Bin hurriedly stopped him. Although Loki is very disgusting now, this kind of Holy Father's personality is easier to control. Even if you help him recover, you have to wait until the matter is done. Xuanzang Sanzang walked to the vicinity of the card table. Her appearance attracted everyone's attention. Many men saw her figure, and their eyes were straight. Thor also noticed a change in the atmosphere at the card table, turned his head, and found Sanzang. Thor's eyes lit up. Xuanzang Sanzang's divinity is D, and was noticed by Thor. The weak divinity shows that this woman is not a god, but she must be related to God. He showed Sanzang an obscene smile. Beauty, do you want to play together? Do you want to favor God? Xuanzang Sanzang did not answer his question, but just smiled slightly, and then put his hands together in front of him. Sanzang's teachings. Xuanzang Sanzang's body suddenly radiated light. Thor knew that her attack was directed at him, but days of fun had slowed his reaction. He was a step slower, and the light completely enveloped him. After the light faded, Thor sat on the chair with a confused look on his face. Thor's face turned green and red, which was very interesting. Zheng Bin stood in the distance and admired his expression for a while, then walked over with Loki. Have you had fun recently, my friend? Thor hadn't come back to his senses yet. No, I have recently. What's going on? Loki looked touched. Brother, you finally recovered. Although Thor's personality was affected before, he still retained a memory of what happened during this period. After hearing Loki's address to him, Thor was disgusted, although he had always hoped that his brother could return to the right path. Loki's current appearance was really disgusting and unbearable. Thor looked at Loki with sympathy, and he didn't know if he could stand it after he returned to normal. Loki was unaware of Thor's complex emotions and just said to Zheng Bin righteously, Since my brother's recovered, I will go with you. Now it's time to save others. Thor asked puzzledly, Save others? It's not convenient to talk here. Let's change places and talk. Zheng Bin took the two brothers back to his suite in the hotel. He told Thor about the current situation in magnesium. He knew that with Thor's carefree personality, he couldn't keep secrets at all. When Thor appeared in front of other Avengers and exposed his feet, it would affect his plan. So he suggested, You should stay in Las Vegas, or leave the Earth for the time being. Don't show up in front of others for the time being. Thor frowned tightly. Now that such a serious thing has happened on the Earth, how can I leave? In this case, you hide and don't let anyone find you. I will contact you when I need your help. Thor agreed to Zheng Bin's arrangement. After solving the matter in Las Vegas, Min-Sakate took Sanzang and Loki back to New York. After Zheng Bin returned to New York, he first had to understand the current situation. In order to avoid being monitored, he first used his mobile phone to hack into Magneto's phone and connected his phone. Soon, the call was connected. Hello, I'm back. You're finally back. Where are you now? After hearing Zheng Bin's voice, Magneto's originally calm voice became anxious. Home, what's wrong? I'll come to you right now. After saying this, Magneto immediately hung up the phone. Zheng Bin then called Black Widow and Spider-Man. Magneto soon appeared at Zheng Bin's home. Have you transferred the command seal to Loki? I'm going to take him away now. Zheng Bin rarely saw Magneto lose his composure. What happened? At the meeting last night, Jean Grey proposed to drop the gene bomb in 3 days, and everyone agreed. What? Black Widow, who came in, heard the explosive news as soon as he entered the door. Why is it so sudden? It's all your fault, the Avengers, for constantly sending superheroes to Manhattan to test. Jean Grey said that it's time to let you know that Mutant is serious this time. The first place to drop the gene bomb is in New York. Isn't it because you mutant have been hurting ordinary humans that we have to send people there? And we are to protect ordinary people. Are you satisfied now? Seeing that the two were arguing more and more fiercely, Zheng quickly stopped them. Okay, let's talk about business first. Iron Man and Thor have returned to normal. Black, after hearing this, Widow's expression eased a little. That's great. What about them? I told them not to come back yet. I'll notify them when I need them. What should we do now? Zero? Zheng glanced at Loki, who had been quietly standing by. I will transfer the command spell to Loki now. Zheng covered Loki's right hand with his hand. After a flash of light, a bright red command spell appeared on the back of his hand. He wiped Loki with his hand again, and the mark of the command spell disappeared. Do you still remember how to use the command spell to replenish your magic? If you feel that your magic power is insufficient when using a skill, use the command spell to replenish your magic. When the command spell is used up, come back to me. I have a way. Loki nodded after hearing this. Then I'll take him there now. Magneto couldn't wait to grab Loki and take him away. Black Widow was a little worried. Is it scary to hand Zheng over to him? Loki was also affected. Black Widow was relieved after hearing this. She had been affected before, so she knew what it was like to be reversed. Her values and personality would be completely overturned, and she believed it without a doubt. It was like being brainwashed. This farce is finally coming to an end. Now we just have to wait for Magneto's notice. Magneto took Loki away. Now the leader of the mutant has the ability of telepathy. Do you have any way to isolate him? Although his personality has changed, Loki's pride as a god is still there. Don't worry, I am a god from Asgard. I can use magic to create an illusion of the mind. She can't see my true thoughts. Magneto also heard a little about what Loki had done on Earth before, so he looked at Loki fiercely. Don't try to play any tricks. I will always keep an eye on you. Loki looked innocent. I really want to help. It's better this way. Magneto took Loki back to the country of Mutant Manhattan and went directly to see Jean Grey. Jean, this is Loki, the evil god from Asgard. He hopes to join us. Oh. Jean Grey looked at Loki with an inquiring look. Why do you want to join us? As far as I know, your brother Thor is in the Avengers camp. Loki looked indifferent. 980, that's why I will never join the Avengers. Jean Grey probed Loki's heart a little bit and found that when he mentioned Thor, his heart was full of hatred. So he didn't probe deeper. In fact, Jean Grey's strength increased greatly after obtaining Phoenix Force. If she wanted to probe Loki's heart, she would find the magic wrapped around Loki's mind. Loki's hatred for Thor now is just an illusion. It's just that Loki's villain image and his previous relationship with Thor are too deeply rooted in people's hearts. This caused Jean Grey to quickly let down her guard against Loki. She smiled at Loki. Welcome to join. You will soon know that your choice is right. After walking out of Jean Grey's room, Loki was about to say something, but was stopped by Magneto's eyes. Come with me. I'll show you around here first. Magneto took Loki on a tour of Manhattan. This is Storm, the real Loki. This is Beast. This is... Magneto introduced Loki to the others. At the moment, Loki also understood his intention, and while greeting them, he wrote down the names and appearances of these people. These are the mutants who need his help to return to normal. Zheng saw the message from Magneto and smiled. Loki has successfully entered the mutant camp. After Magneto and Loki left, Black Widow also had to go back to the Avengers. Before leaving, she said to Zheng, I will only give Loki 2 days. If he still has a restored mutant to normal in 2 days, I will tell Captain America about the gene bomb. Once the gene bomb comes out, not only ordinary people, but many superheroes don't have the X gene, and they will also be the targets of the gene bomb. If Loki can't stop mutants' actions, then she can't care about anything else. Captain America can only start a war to ensure the safety of most people. Okay, Zheng agreed. If that time comes, even if there are no Avengers, he will not let Mutant go. After receiving Magneto's message, Zheng finally felt relieved. Although Loki's temperament is completely different from before, he is still a smart man. As long as he can get into Mutant, the rest of the things will be much easier. The message alert sound of the mobile phone rang again. Zheng took out his mobile phone and found that the message came from an unfamiliar number. The content of the message only had an address. Air Ross XXXXXXX. This number was not blocked in any way, and Zheng easily found the address that sent this message. The address is the same as the one in the text message. Zheng asked, "Who are you?" Wanda Maximov. Wanda and her brother left the Shin Industry factory in Sokovia when Zheng went to space. According to the factory people, the two of them disappeared suddenly without leaving a single word. After Zheng came back, he also learned about this from the file Emma Frost gave him. It turned out that the siblings went to Oris. Zheng continued to ask, "What is this address?" This time, after a long time, he did not receive a reply text message. In Zheng memory, Wanda and Pietro have always been loyal to him. Before he went to Universe, they did their best to help him guard the Sokovia factory. If it was really Wanda, she must have sent this message for a reason. Zheng intuition told him that this address must be related to the current chaos in Yenue. He opened the heroic spirit card library and equipped himself with the Conqueror King's card. He flew towards Oris on the God Wheel. Damn it, Pietro, can't he be more careful? Wanda controlled the red power in her hand to block the bullets from all directions. Pietro was originally running in the room, so fast that people could not catch his trace at all. After hearing this, he stopped and said to Wanda, "How do I know he is so perverted? A grown man is like a high school girl who can't leave his phone for a moment. This is Hydra's laboratory." Wanda and Pietro did not come to Hydra's laboratory by chance. They were captured. Hydra has always been obsessed with the weapons of Shin Industry. After a while, they finally found the address of Shin Industry's new factory. Before, they didn't dare to confront Zheng head-on. So they found a way to capture Wanda and Pietro, two siblings who seemed to have a high status in the factory, and brought them back for interrogation. These two people were very stubborn. No matter what kind of torture, they couldn't pry out anything about Shin Industry. It happened that Hydra got the Tesseract and was going to use it for human experiments. So they threw the two siblings into the middle of the volunteers and participated in the experiment together. Unexpectedly, all the experimental subjects died. In the end, only the two of them survived and gained ability. With Wanda and Pietro's current abilities, it would be easy to leave here. Before leaving, they wanted to take away their own experimental reports, but who knew they would find something amazing? They found that Hydra was actually using Professor X's body for experiments, trying to destroy the world. They wanted to tell Zheng this information, but when the two siblings were captured, they had nothing on them. Pietro had to steal a HYDRA agent's phone and sent a message to Zheng. Before the message was sent, it was discovered Wanda had just obtained the ability and had not yet mastered the calendar. Soon, her arm was shot through by a bullet. Pietro saw that Wanda was injured and was distracted for a moment and was also shot to the calf by a bullet. 0.0 because these two people were rare experimental subjects. The agents on the scene avoided their vital points when attacking. Otherwise, the two shots would have shot through their hearts. Damn it! Pietro's legs hurt so much that he couldn't stand up, and he couldn't help but curse in a low voice. Tie them up and take them back. The leading agent ordered his men. After hearing this, several agents took out Hydra's special ropes and walked towards the two. At this moment, the wall made a huge amount of noise. Two cows actually broke through their wall and flew in with a car. When the Hydra people saw it, they all showed an expression of disbelief. Two cows? You know, the wall of their laboratory is made of special materials. Even missiles may not be able to break it. The man in the car stood up from the car. When everyone saw his face, the head snake executives present recognized who he was at a glance. Zheng Bin got off the Shenwei wheel. Wanda and Pietro were delighted when they saw Zheng Bin. Boss! Zheng Bin walked to Wanda's side and looked at the wound on her hand. Are you okay? Wanda shook her head and replied, I'm fine. Zheng Bin looked at Pietro not far away. Pietro also waved at him, indicating that he was fine. When the Hydra executives saw Zheng Bin's face, they immediately signaled to subordinates standing beside them with their eyes. The subordinates nodded and retreated quietly, intending to sneak away when Zheng Bin was not paying attention. Now, for this laboratory, no. For the entire HYDRA, nothing can be more important than Professor X's body. They must move Professor X's body to another place before Zheng Bin finds it. Before the agent took a few steps, a huge amount of swords flew through the air and stabbed straight into the floor in front of him. The sword was only a few centimeters away from his feet. If he had walked faster, the sword would have pierced his instep. The HYDRA agent was startled by the sudden attack. Seeing the big sword deeply inserted into the store, he felt a tremor in his heart. Zheng Bin, who was standing behind him, shouted, Where are you going? Take me with you. The HYDRA executive knew that it was impossible to slip away under Zheng Bin's nose, so he pulled Pietro, who was very close to him, in front of him, took out a gun and pointed it at Pietro's head. Let him leave, otherwise I will shoot this kid in the head. Pietro had a wound on his leg and was forcibly pulled to stand up. His face showed a painful expression, and the gunshot wound on his leg bled more. Zheng Bin looked at the other party with a gloomy face. The other party's action reminded him of the scene when he first met Gwen, and also reminded him of the tragic death of his mother that day. These damn terrorists. Seeing Zheng Bin's eyes and feeling the pressure coming towards him, the HYDRA executive's hand, holding the gun, trembled and then grabbed Pietro more forcefully. He wanted to use Pietro as a shield to block Liabilian Sakate's anger. Zheng Bin saw this and showed a mocking smile. He raised his right hand and snapped his fingers lightly. The executive who held Pietro hostage suddenly fell down. When he fell, he still held the gun in his hand. His eyes were wide open, and until the last moment before his death, he didn't know what had just happened. When his body fell to the ground, everyone found that his head and neck had been separated. His head was actually cut off by someone, and the wound on his neck was very flat, as if it was cut off by a sharp knife. But Zheng Bin just snapped his fingers. If there was a magician at the scene, he would have noticed that Zheng Bin had just used a wind blade to cut off the head of the Hydra executive. It's just that there are no magicians here, and the wind is invisible. No one present could detect the wind blade. They just felt that there was a strange, strong wind blowing in the laboratory just now. All HYDRA raised their guns and pointed them at Zheng Bin. The HYDRA agent who just wanted to slip away began to tremble when he saw the end of his boss. Zheng Bin ignored the countless guns pointed at him and just used the wind to lift Wanda and Pietro up and sent them to the Shenwei wheel. Although the Hydra people saw Wanda and Pietro suddenly float up from the ground, no one took action. Just now, the senior executive wanted to use Pietro to threaten Zheng Bin, and his head was cut off in an instant, and he didn't even know how he died. They could only watch Zheng Bin settle Wanda and her brother. You are injured. Wait for me outside. Wanda and Pietro both showed expressions of being moved and embarrassed. They obviously wanted to help Zheng Bin, but they had to trouble Zheng Bin to take care of them later. Wanda quickly spoke up before being sent away. Professor X's body is in this lab. We saw the file before. Zheng Bin was a little surprised. This was a really unexpected gain. He had been looking for Professor X's body. Although Sanzang's skills can help Chowing return to normal, this kind of trouble still needs to be solved from the root. Otherwise, what if it just restored the person, but was reversed again a few days later? The God Wheel and Zheng Bin, who was equipped with the Conqueror King card, were connected in spirit. After Wanda and Pietro got on the God Wheel, there was a bang sound, and there was another hole in the wall of the laboratory, which was said to be extremely hard. The God Wheel took them out of the laboratory at an invisible speed. Zheng Bin looked at the Hydra people who were facing a great enemy. Who was the person in charge of this laboratory? The HYDRA people looked at the Hydra executives who had just been separated from their bodies on the ground. Who was the second person in charge? Everyone looked at a Mediterranean man with glasses surrounded by agents. Mediterranean stood up and said, "I am..." Zheng Bin asked directly, "Where's Professor X's body?" "I will never tell you. People like you..." Zheng Bin snapped his fingers, and Mediterranean hadn't finished speaking before his head was cut off by an unknown weapon, just like the person who died before. There was silence on the field. Who is the third person in charge? This time, everyone's eyes were faster than the last time, and they immediately looked at the middle-aged man standing in the corner. The middle-aged man stood up without fear. "Where's Professor X's body?" "Ree!" Before he even said the word year, E.G. snapped his fingers. This person also shut up forever. The fourth person in charge come out. The fifth person in charge. They could still point out the first few people clearly. After all, these people have status in the laboratory, and everyone knows who they are. 850, however, when Zheng Bin read the larger number, the fewer people came out. Everyone was pushing each other away, pushing the people around them out first. If someone is going to die, it will be someone else who dies first. In this way, the number of Hydra people decreased one by one. The HYDRA organization, which was feared on Earth, was now a lamb to be slaughtered in front of Zheng Bin. When Zheng Bin shouted, "The 10th person in charge," a Hydra was pushed out by his companions behind him. Zheng Bin asked as usual, "Where's Professor X's body?" The people in front did have some status in HYDRA, so they were also tough. Even if Zheng Bin threatened them with death, they were unwilling to tell the secret of HYDRA. And the person who was pushed out was just an ordinary agent of HYDRA, and he had been frightened by Zheng Bin's weird killing method. When Zheng Bin asked him, he immediately said, I know where it is, I'll tell you." Zheng Bin's hand, which was ready to snap his fingers, was still raised and did not put down. I'll take you there. In theory, Professor X's body is such a top secret that ordinary agents like them cannot touch it. This agent also found the place where the body was placed by accident. "Let's go." Snap. Zheng Bin snapped his fingers, and except for the agent, all other Hydra members fell to ground, and their bodies were still torn apart. The remaining Hydra agents stared at the heads and corpses on the ground in amazement. Zheng Bin, the culprit, said calmly, "Since you know the location, the rest of us are useless. However, if you lied to me, believe me, you would rather die right now." The HYDRA agent said quickly, "Don't worry. I dare not lie to you. Please follow me." Walking on the way to the laboratory, the Hydra agent led the way in front, and Zheng Bin followed behind him. He felt a chill as long as he thought of such a dangerous person staring at his back. Now, he and Zheng Bin are the only two living people left in the whole laboratory. When the two walked together, they seemed particularly quiet. He gritted his teeth and talked to Zheng Bin. "I found Professor X's body accidentally. I came back from my last mission and saw them transporting the body. Although I didn't see the body, I knew it must be very important when I saw the faces of the senior executives." "So you're not sure whether it's Professor X's body?" Hearing Zheng Bin's question, although the other party's tone was very calm, HYDRA Moth was not afraid of cold sweat on his forehead. "Don't worry, it shouldn't be wrong. We will know soon." Hydra agent now hated himself for being too talkative and dared not say more. The two walked to the door of a laboratory without saying a word. "It's here." Zheng Bin looked at the door of the laboratory, which needed to be opened with pupils. "I'll help you carry the person over." "No need. Those senior executives died first. Dead man's pupils had already dilated. What's the point of moving here now?" Zheng Bin's mind moved, and suddenly there was a loud noise, and the door of the laboratory in front of him was knocked open. The Shunwei will stopped inside the laboratory. Wanda and her brother were sitting on the Shinwei wheel at the moment, looking confused. They were just staying outside, and suddenly they were brought in by the Shinwei wheel. Zheng Bin walked into the laboratory and saw that Professor X's body was indeed in this room. His body was placed in a transparent jar, and his whole body was full of tubes, and the other end of the tube was connected to the laboratory machine. Zheng Bin walked to the machine, tapped on the keyboard a few times, and backed up the contents of the machine. Then he walked over and smashed a glass jar containing Professor X with a punch. Professor X's body flowed out along with the liquid that had been soaking him in the glass jar. Zheng Bin snapped his fingers, and Professor X, who was soaked all over, floated up and flew to the Shinwei wheel. Pietro felt a little uncomfortable with a wet body next to him. "Boss, are you going to take him back to New York? Aren't you going to destroy his body?" "Zheng Bin, take him away first. I still have use for him." Wanda glared at Pietro, blaming him for being too talkative. Whatever the boss wants to do, they should obey unconditionally. Why ask so many questions? The HYDRA agent who had been standing next to him saw Zheng Bin move Professor X's body away and knew that he was leaving and asked excitedly, "Since the body's been found, can I leave now?" Zheng Bin looked at him and said, "Thank you." Just after thanking him, Zheng Bin snapped his fingers with his right hand. The HYDRA agent's head and neck also separated. His eyes were wide open, as if he didn't understand why he died, and there was endless unwillingness in his eyes. Zheng Bin had no intention of letting this agent survive from the beginning to the end. The death of this Hydra agent was not only because he didn't want anyone to disrupt his plan and cause trouble. It was more because of Zheng Bin's hatred for terrorists. All the people in Hydra deserved to die, and no one was innocent. Wanda and Pietro saw Zheng Bin killing people with indifferent expressions. They grew up in a war-torn country and had long been accustomed to life and death. Not to mention that this person was killed by their god, they would not take it to heart. Wanda said to Zheng Bin, "Boss, I also have a super ability now. If you want to kill someone in the future, just let me do it." "Yes." Pietro also echoed from the side, "Just leave it to us in the future. Can you tell me about your abilities?" Wanda and Pietro told Zheng Bin everything from the time they were captured by Hydra to the time they were tested. They even told Zheng Bin about their own abilities without reservation. After listening, Zheng Bin thought to himself that it seemed that their abilities were the same as those in the movies he watched in his previous life. Pietro's abilities were speed, and Scarlet Witch's were origin magic power. Wanda asked Zheng Bin excitedly, "I think mutant and superheroes will have their own names. Since we now have abilities, why don't you come up with a name for us, boss?" "Then let's call them Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver." Zheng Bin blurted out, "Okay, let's call it this." After hearing these two names, Wanda and Pietro thought more and more that they fit their own image. They agreed immediately. Then Zheng Bin asked Wanda and the others to take him back to the place where they had been doing experimental subjects before and took away the Tesseract. Since S.H.I.E.L.D. can't protect this Tesseract, then he will take care of it. Look at Wanda and Quicksilver's powerful abilities. They are all obtained by this Tesseract. He can also study what surprises this Tesseract can bring him. Zheng Bin swept through the Hydra laboratory, turned the entire laboratory upside down, and took away everything he thought was useful. After finishing these things, he immediately took Wanda and Pietro back to New York. Although it was only half a day since he left New York, Zheng Bin still rushed back as quickly as possible. The current situation is very tense, and something can happen at any time. Sure enough, Zheng Bin received a message from Black Widow not long after he returned home with Wanda and Pietro. "Bin, Captain America has discovered Jeanne Wei. He has decided to attack Manhattan tonight." Zheng Bin looked solemn. How could it be so fast? He knew that with Captain America's current control-freak personality, he would definitely plant spies in Mutant, and it would be a matter of time before he knew about the Jean bomb. But according to Magneto, this was a decision made by Jean Grey not long ago, and only a small number of core figures knew about it. Could there be Captain America's spies there? It's too late to think about these things now. Zheng Bin immediately conveyed this information to Magneto and then asked, "The plan needs to be advanced. There are only a few hours left. I will come to meet you now." Zheng Bin brought back Professor X's body and Hydra's experimental record on him. Originally, he planned to study in the next 2 days to see if he could use Professor X's body to turn the others back to normal. But now the situation is urgent and it's too late. Zheng Bin took Wanda and Pietro and flew towards Manhattan. "How is it?" Magneto looked at Loki, who was pale and breathing heavily. Loki was so tired that he couldn't speak. He used a command spell to replenish his magic power before he recovered. Xuanzang Sanzang came over and answered for Loki. The negative status of these two people has been lifted. Storm and Colossus, who were doubting their lives, stood not far away. Magneto shouted at the two men, "There is no time for you to repent now. Take Loki to find other mutants immediately." After that, he pulled up the still very weak Loki and pushed him to Storm's side. Storm saw Loki was dying and hesitated. "Is he okay?" Magneto said coldly, "Don't worry about him. Time is running out. Take him there first." Father Loki smiled at Storm and said, "I'm fine. Don't worry. If Sanzang uses a few more skills, you will die because of the overdraft of magic power." Zheng Bin drove the Shinwei wheel and brought Wanda and Pietro to Manhattan. He happened to hear the conversation between Loki and Storm. Magneto saw Zheng Bin's figure and suddenly felt a surge of heart. His originally anxious heart was soothed. Zheng Bin walked down from the Shinwei wheel and changed the card. He changed to the Solomon card. Just like before, Solomon card made Zheng Bin look like a human being, with only indifference to life in his eyes. He waved his hand at Loki expressionlessly. "Come here." Loki felt the amazing aura on the other side and walked over obediently. "Right hand." Loki put his right hand on Zheng Bin's palm, and Zheng Bin stretched out his hand and gently wiped his arm and saw a series of bright red command spells directly covering his arm. Left hand. Loki was frightened by the countless command spells, and before he could react, he handed his left hand to Zheng Bin with a wooden expression. Just like before, Zheng Bin gently wiped it, and dozens of command spells appeared on Loki's hand. Here are a total of 108 command spells. When you feel that your magic power is overdrawn, use these command spells to replenish your magic. Loki, who once had a servant, knew how to use the command spells, and he was also very clear about the magic contained in the command spells. The magic power contained in the two command spells is more than the magic power of the god of Asgard, and there are 108 command spells here. If it was still the ambitious Loki before, he would definitely be ecstatic to get these command spells. Even the Loki who has been affected and become very holy now can't help but be moved by these powers. Solomon is a king of magic, and Zheng Bin can't think of a more suitable candidate than him to make command spells for Loki. However, after making the command spell for Loki, the consciousness chose to release Solomon's status. Although Solomon is very strong, this card will make him become indifferent after being equipped. Sometimes, some things still need to be judged by emotions, especially now when facing these reverse heroes. Loki immediately used a command spell to replenish his magic, and his originally pale face became ruddy, and his magic power also returned to the best state. Zheng Bin listened attentively, then said to Storm and the others, "Take Loki to help others recover first. Jean Grey is coming. I will help you hold her back." "Okay." Storm agreed and looked at Zheng Bin with pleading eyes. "Please don't kill her, okay?" Zheng Bin killed Jean Grey. All the X-Men knew about this. Although the world is in chaos this time, all of them have to rely on Zheng Bin to return to normal. But Storm still hopes that Zheng Bin can let Jean Grey go. Jean Grey is their companion. Zheng Bin agreed, "Don't worry, this time I won't kill her again." After getting Zheng Bin's guarantee, Storm left with Loki at ease. Jean Grey controlled ability and flew to Zheng Bin. "It's you again. Why are you always against me?" Zheng Bin looked at her calmly. "What you are doing now is wrong. Professor X would not want to see his favorite student become like this." "What do you know?" Jean Grey raged, "The professor is dead. We mutants are nobler than ordinary people. We should rule the world. Your idea is too selfish." Magneto said in a deep voice beside him. After hearing this, Jean Grey looked at Magneto and laughed sarcastically. "Sure enough, you also betrayed Mutant. I just don't know how much you will regret when you recover and think about missing such a good opportunity." "Recover?" Zheng Bin noticed a word in Jean Grey's words. "It seems that you know what is happening in this world." Jean Grey admitted generously, "Definitely. To be precise, this happened with my acquiescence." "Oh, what do you mean?" "You don't have to delay any longer. Even if you recover everyone, I can still reverse their minds. What you're doing now is useless." Although Zheng Bin's plan was exposed by Jean Grey, he was not panicked at all. "It seems that you are determined to destroy this world. So what? Then I can only break my promise and kill you again." Jean Grey laughed as if he heard a joke. Then he looked at Zheng Bin provocatively. "You can try." A huge amount of stone rushed towards Jean Grey like a cannonball. Seeing Jean Grey's stubborn look, Magneto attacked her first. Jean Grey raised her hand without even looking at her, and a golden force blocked her. The boulder hit the wall made of energy and shattered instantly. Her eyes, shining with golden light, looked at Magneto indifferently. She waved her hand casually, and the helmet on Magneto's head that could isolate the telepathy ability began shape-shifting. Ah! The sudden pain made Magneto couldn't help but shout out, and he was also activating his own ability to restore the shape of the helmet. But Jean Grey's ability was obviously better, and no matter how hard Magneto tried, the helmet continued to shrink. Jean Grey laughed sarcastically. "It's useless. Our strength is too different. Release infinite weapons." Seeing Magneto kneel on the ground in pain, Zheng Bin immediately released his own treasure. An exquisite musket appeared in his hand. He shot at Jean Grey quickly. As before, a golden energy wall appeared in front of Jean Grey. Jean Grey had a confident smile on her face. Her current strength was much stronger than before she was killed by Zheng Bin. She believed that Phoenix Force could help her block any attack. But when the bullet was about to reach the energy wall, the smile on her face disappeared, and she dodged the bullet in a panic. The bullet actually penetrated the energy wall directly. If Jean Grey hadn't dodged quickly, the bullet would have shot through her heart. Although she had avoided the vital parts, the bullet still cut her arm, and blood flowed from her fingertips to the ground. Jean Grey felt that her wound was burning. The musket in Zheng Bin's hand was a copy of Francis's musket. Not only is the appearance exactly the same, but the power is also the same. Maybe Jean Grey's ability has become stronger, and he can use Phoenix Force more skillfully. But it is still not as good as the weapons of the heroic spirit. The weapons of the heroic spirit are the fantasy of everyone in the world. Human fantasy is endless, so the weapons of the heroic spirit are also endless. Zheng Bin's shot interrupted Jean Grey's attack on Magneto. Magneto felt the pressure of the helmet disappear and quickly activated the ability to take off the helmet. At this time, they had already torn their faces with Jean Grey, and it didn't matter if she saw through them. Zheng Bin helped Magneto, who was kneeling on the ground and had not recovered yet, up. "Leave this to me. You go help Loki and the others." "Okay." Magneto agreed very straightforwardly and walked directly towards Loki and the others. The difference in strength between him and Jean Grey was too great, and staying here would only be a hindrance. In this case, he might as well leave and let Zheng Bin perform well. He was very confident in Zheng Bin's strength. Jean Grey saw Magneto leave and did not stop him, but looked at Zheng Bin with a gloomy face. She knew that as long as Zheng Bin was solved, all problems would disappear. No one in this world could resist her Phoenix Force. As long as Zheng Bin was gone, she could become the master of this world. Zheng Bin snapped his fingers, and his body was wrapped by the wind summoned by magic, and flew into the air, flying to the same height as Jean Grey. He looked at Jean Grey calmly. He was ready for the battle. Jean Grey looked at Zheng Bin, who flew up to the sky and looked at her level, and sneered, although Zheng Bin had just hit her with a bullet. But Jean Grey had now completely mastered the Phoenix Force, and she felt that her strength was no worse than Zheng Bin. She looked at Zheng Bin arrogantly, and when she was about to take action, a loud noise suddenly came from not far away. This sound came from the center of Manhattan. Jean Grey listened attentively, and suddenly her expression changed drastically. She didn't even care about Zheng Bin, who was standing beside her, and flew directly in that direction. 903. Zheng Bin raised his eyebrows after seeing it, and didn't stop him but followed Jean Grey closely. Seeing her anxious look, there must be something that she valued very much over there. The two flew to the center of Manhattan, one after the other. This is the building in the center. It looks like it is about to collapse, and many of the glass on the outer wall of the building have been broken. There are also traces of collisions when people fight on it. This building is the office location of the mutant country, and Jean Grey usually works here. Researchers also conduct their research here. Therefore, there are many valuable data inside. When Jean Grey arrived, she was so angry when she saw the central building turned into this state. Regardless of whether they were enemies or friends, she raised her hand and used Phoenix Force to blow away all the people surrounding the building. Zheng Bin, who was following behind, quickly used magic to protect those flying people. The power of Phoenix Force is very strong. If these people fall to the ground or hit any obstacles, they will definitely be injured. Zheng Bin found that there are many familiar faces among these flying people. Peter Parker came, and the people from the Avengers also came. Zheng Bin only used magic to help them block a little, and after blocking the strongest impact at the beginning, he retracted the magic. Everyone fell to the ground in embarrassment. Everyone present was experienced in battle, and naturally found that after Jean Grey hit them just now, there was a force that helped them block the impact. Everyone looked puzzled, and Wanda and Pietro, who were sent by Zheng Bin to assist Storm, were the first to discover Zheng Bin. Wanda nodded to Zheng Bin. Zheng Bin immediately understood what Wanda meant. It seemed that Loki had completed the mission, and the mutants here had returned to normal. However, looking at Captain America's hatred for mutants now, even if the mutants returned to normal, it did not mean that the war could be stopped. Jean Grey noticed Zheng Bin's action, glared at him angrily, and then controlled the Phoenix Force to attack Zheng Bin. Release infinite weapons. Zheng Bin once again released his treasure, and a red, white, and blue shield appeared in his hand, with a 5-pointed star in the middle of the shield. Zheng Bin used the shield to block Jean Grey's attack and directly dispersed the golden-red Phoenix Force. This Phoenix Force seemed to have its own consciousness. After the red light dispersed, it gathered again and attacked Zheng Bin again. Zheng Bin had to raise the shield again to disperse it, and after it was dispersed, it was raised again. It was simply a ghost that lingered. People standing on the ground found that Zheng Bin in the air was struggling with a golden-red force. When they saw the shield in Zheng Bin's hand, both the Avengers and the mutants turned their heads to look in the direction of Captain America. Captain America was holding the same shield in his hand. Captain America didn't care about the surprised looks of others. He only wanted to make the mutants exterminate. He threw the shield in his hand and hit Colossus hard, knocking him to the ground. At this time, everyone realized that they were now on the battlefield and were back in the fight. Zheng Bin was entangled by the Phoenix Force and had no way to get out for a while. Jean Grey smiled at Zheng Bin sarcastically, then turned around and flew towards the central building. Beast, who was fighting on the ground, noticed where Jean Grey was going and shouted to Zheng Bin, "Mr. Zheng, it's a gene bomb. The launcher of the gene bomb is in that building." No wonder Jean Grey just flew over in a hurry. On the Avengers side, most of the superheroes don't have the X gene. As long as the gene bomb is launched, all the Avengers present will die. Mutant can easily win. After hearing what Beast said, the Avengers and all the people in the mutant camp no longer cared about fighting with the other camp and ran towards the central building together. Stopping Jean Grey was the most important thing now. Wanda flew into the air and blocked the Phoenix Force's pestering for Zheng Bin. "Boss, leave this to me. You go first." "Okay, thank you for your help." Seeing Wanda dealing with the Phoenix Force with ease, Gaiwu felt relieved. He also flew towards the Manhattan Central Building. Using the magic flight, he was extremely fast and soon caught up with the others. After seeing his target, Zheng Bin lowered the height of flight, grabbed Loki's collar from behind, and lifted him off the ground. "Give me Sanzang's command seal." Loki's body was originally covered with densely packed command spells, but now only a few were left. Sanzang consumed a lot of magic power when using skills, and his own magic power was not enough, so he could only replenish magic power continuously. How to give it? Zheng Bin's magic system was completely different from his, and he didn't know how to transfer the command spells. "Relax. Don't resist my magic invasion." Zheng Bin grabbed Loki's collar, flew forward, and snatched Loki's command spells. After a burst of light, the few remaining command spells on Loki's hand disappeared. and there was an extra command spell on the back of Zheng Bin's hand. Okay, after finishing the work, Zheng Bin let go of Loki's collar and threw him back to the ground. For Zheng Bin's attitude of throwing away after use, the current Saint Father Loki had no complaints. He patted the dust off his body and ran with the others again. After regaining the command seal, Zheng Bin landed on the ground and summoned Sanzang to his side. He hugged Sanzang's waist and flew up again. Later, as long as you see someone, you will use your skills, no matter which camp they are from. Anyway, his magic power is abundant. No matter how many times Sanzang uses his skills, he can withstand it. If you use skills indiscriminately like this, the speed can be faster. Okay, master. Zheng Bin took Sanzang and flew over the heads of the crowd. One after another, bright lights flashed. These were the lights that flashed when Sanzang activated his skills. The mutant camp had just been baptized by these lights not long ago and knew what they were, so they continued to run calmly. The people in the Avengers camp didn't know what it was. Many people stopped and tried to avoid these lights, and some even cursed. Damn it, Zheng Bin, you traitor, actually attacked us. However, after being hit by the light, their expressions changed from anger at the beginning to confusion and finally to guilt. The same was true for Gwen Stacy in the crowd. Before she was attacked by Zheng Bin, she showed a sad expression, and when she was finally hit by the light, she closed her eyes tightly and looked desperate. She looked like she was betrayed by her lover, but after being hit by the light, she finally regained consciousness and understood what had happened recently. One after another, the superheroes recovered, and only Captain America was still resisting. He was always very vigilant, strong. After his personality was affected, this vigilance has developed to an extreme level. He is wary of everyone in the world. So when Zheng Bin launched the attack, he was the first to discover it and the first to dodge it. He dodged the light that Sanzang shot at him. Seeing this, the Avengers who were standing in place did not care about guilt and came forward one after another, trying to restrain the captain of the Magnesium country. The captain of the Magnesium country saw the allies rushing up and roared, "What are you doing? Do you want to betray the Magnesium country?" Black Widow, who was walking in the front, persuaded, "Captain, don't struggle. You will know later that we are all 987 for your own good." Damn it, you have all been deceived by Zheng Bin. Under the heavy attack, even the captain of Magnesium, who never swears, couldn't help but curse. Finally, the cobweb sprayed by Gwen Stacy tripped the captain's feet and fixed him in place, and the skills launched by Sanzang also landed on him accurately. After the light faded, the bitter and vengeful expression of the captain of Magnesium disappeared. He turned back to the calm, peaceful, and beloved captain of Magnesium. After recalling what he had done during this period, the captain of Magnesium's blue eyes, which were as tolerant as the sea, flashed with pain. He closed his eyes and suppressed these emotions in his heart. He made too many mistakes, and if he had to accept punishment, he was willing. But not now. Now, there are more important things waiting for him to do. The captain of Magnesium looked at Zheng Bin with a firm look. Where is Jean Grey? The Avengers present all returned to normal because of Sanzang's skills. However, this also delayed them for some time, and they ran to the control room one step slower than Mutant. When they arrived, they found Mutant lying on the ground outside the control room. Gwen Stacy could hear the breathing of these people. They are still alive, but they are unconscious. Suddenly, the sound of fighting came from the control room. Captain America took the shield in his hand and knocked hard on the electronic lock on the sensor door. After the electronic lock burst out a few sparks, it was directly scrapped and the sensor door opened automatically. Everyone saw a blonde beauty fighting with Jean Grey. After seeing the beauty's appearance clearly, everyone turned their attention to Zheng Bin. This blonde beauty is Zheng Bin's secretary, Emma Frost. Jean Grey controlled the debris in the room to attack Emma Frost. Emma Frost's ability is similar to Jean Grey. She also controlled the debris in the room to block the attack, but her ability is not as good as Jean Grey's. Everyone can see that she is at a disadvantage and can't hold on any longer. Captain America immediately threw the shield in his hand at Jean Grey, interrupting her attack. With the help of Captain America, Emma Frost was able to take a short break in the fierce battle. She saw Zheng Bin in the crowd and shouted, "Boss, the Jeanne bomb has been launched. Now it's counting down." The screen in the control room was showing a bright red number, 300, and this number is constantly decreasing. 299, 298, 297, 296. There are less than 5 minutes left before the Jeanne bomb will be launched. Zheng Bin immediately ran to the side of the console and typed on the keyboard with both hands. As long as the program is destroyed, the launch can be stopped. Jean Grey discovered Zheng Bin's move and used Phoenix Force to knock Captain America, who was entangled with her, away and wanted to attack Zheng Bin. Then, her hand was entangled by cobweb at some point. Jean Grey turned around and saw Gwen Stacy standing at the other end, pulling the cobweb in her hand hard to control her movements. Others also joined the battle. Jean Grey faced so many superheroes alone, but she was not at a disadvantage and even seemed to be at ease. Facing these Avengers, Jean Grey would not show mercy like she did when fighting Mutant just now. One after another, superheroes fell under Jean Grey's fierce attack, and their lives and deaths were unknown. Zheng Bin noticed the battle situation and ordered Xuanzang Sanzang. "Sanzang, stop her." "Okay, master." Xuanzang Sanzang replied sweetly, and a red stick appeared in her hand, with both ends of the stick being golden. In addition to the 9-ring tin staff given to her by Guanyin Bodhisattva, Xuanzang Sanzang can also use the weapons of her disciples. This one is the Rui Jingu Bang of her eldest disciple son Wukong. She rushed towards Jean Grey waving the golden hoop. The joining of Xuanzang Sanzang completely changed the battle situation. As soon as she came off the stage, she released her treasure. Release 5 elements mountain Sakyamuni Buddha palm seedling. Xuanzang Sanzang's body was emitting dazzling light, as if a huge amount of Buddha statue appeared in the light. In a moment, the Buddha statue turned into a huge amount of palm and slapped Jean Grey. Jean Grey wanted to dodge, but the area of this palm was too large, covering the entire room, and she had nowhere to escape. However, after the golden light dissipated, she was safe and sound. Jean Grey was confused for a second, but before she could think clearly, Xuanzang Sanzang had already rushed up with the Rui Jingu Bang. Xuanzang Sanzang just hit Jean Grey with a stick, without any rules, but the speed of swinging was extremely fast. Even though Jean Grey tried her best to dodge, she was still hit a few times by accident. These hits made her scream in pain. Seeing that Jean Grey was beaten by Sanzang without any chance to fight back, other superheroes also came forward to help. At this time, Jean Grey finally realized something was wrong. These superheroes fought together. With many punches and kicks, no matter how fast she was still inevitably hit once or twice. She was always wrapped in Phoenix Force. So at the beginning, these people's punches and kicks could not penetrate Phoenix Force and hit her. When Jean Grey was hit by Sanzang, she still thought that the opponent was Zheng Bin's man and must be very powerful. It was normal that the strange stick could penetrate Phoenix Force and hit her. But now, when other superheroes attacked him, she also felt pain. There was something wrong with that golden light, just now. Jean Grey looked at Xuanzang Sanzang with cold eyes. "What did you do to me?" Xuanzang Sanzang said heartlessly, "Amit Ba, this donor, you have too much evil spirit. Only the Buddha can help you resolve it." Jean Grey was angry at Xuanzang Sanzang's careless attitude, and she became more and more ruthless. But no matter how vicious she attacked, it was easily resolved by Xuanguan Sanzang. Xuanzang Sanzang was beating and chanting to Jean Grey, "This donor, have you considered converting to Buddhism? I only have male disciples now, but no female disciples. Why don't you join me? And I will definitely teach you well. Look at my eldest disciple. It turns out he is the same as you." "Shut up. Stop arguing, dead man." Jean Grey roared, and a golden-red Phoenix Force shot toward Xuanzang Sanzang's face. Xuanzang Sanzang was beaten apart with one stick. This is also what Jean Grey is upset about. The Phoenix Force that had been entangled with Zheng Bin for a long time was easily broken up by Xuanzang Sanzang. This woman's ability is too weird. At this time, a sharp alarm sounded in the control room. This is the sound made after the program was released by Zheng. The countdown number on the display disappeared, and now it shows program close. The launch program of this gene bomb was designed by Beast. Beast Hank is one of the smartest people on Earth. He has outstanding performance in many fields such as mechanics, biology, electronics. His program design is very complicated, but compared to the program on Tony Stark's steel battlesuit, there's still a big gap. Tony Stark's ability in this regard is unmatched. Although Zheng cannot crack the steel battlesuit for the time being suit's program, but his skills were still higher than Beast's. So it only took a few minutes to crack the launch program. After seeing the font on the screen, Jean Grey's face twisted. Why? She obviously has such a powerful power now. The timing is so good this time. She has already planned everything. She looked at Zheng with resentment. She was right. Zheng was the key to everything. As long as he was there, her desire would never come to fruition. Jean Grey, who was extremely angry, suddenly roared and then rushed toward Zheng like a cannonball. Equip Gilgameshka. Okay, host. Zheng body emitted huge amounts of light, and the heroic spirit card was equipped in an instant. When Jean Grey rushed to Zheng, the light just dissipated. Everyone saw that Zheng had changed into a set of golden armor, and at the moment he was impatiently grabbing Jean Grey's wrist that attacked him. You female cockroach, you've had enough trouble. After equipping Gilgamesh, the familiar violent emotion filled his set hard again. Jean Grey struggled hard in Zheng hand, trying to break free from his comfort. She used her other free hand to wave at Zheng face. A golden chain tied up Jean Grey's hands, blocking her attack. The chain was like a living thing, starting from Jean Grey's wrist and wandering around her body. Soon, she was tied up. Jean Grey tried her best, even using Phoenix Force, but the chain didn't move at all, tying her tightly. It's so boring. Zheng turned sideways and dodged the cobweb that Gwen Stacy fired at him. Jean Grey used her telepathy ability to control Gwen Stacy. In addition to Gwen Stacy, other people in the room also attacked Zheng uncontrollably. All kinds of attacks attacked Zheng. Master, I'll help you. Zheng stepped forward and blocked the attack with the golden hoop. Zheng took out a golden medieval helmet from Gilgamesh's treasure house and threw it at Jean Grey. The helmet landed accurately on Jean Grey's head. At this time, the people who unconsciously launched the attack also stopped their actions and looked at each other blankly, not knowing what had just happened. This is a sea-level treasure, which is said to be the first helmet in Western history. In the Middle Ages, there were constant wars between Western countries. The person who studied this helmet claimed that this was a divine object given to them by God, and this helmet could isolate all harm. Their country is the chosen country, and it will definitely bless them. But this is definitely a lie. The person wearing this helmet was killed by the enemy on the battlefield. At this time, the person who invented the helmet said again that this helmet could not resist the damage of swords, but it could resist the damage of demons. The person wearing this helmet can always be pure in mind and will not be polluted by demons. Gilgamesh has all the treasures in the world, and legendary weapons like this are definitely in his treasure house. According to legend, this helmet has no resistance to physical damage, but it can block all mental damage. Under the special properties of this helmet, the person wearing the helmet has no way to launch mental attacks. Now that she is tied up by the heaven's chains and wearing a helmet on her head, Jean Grey is really helpless. Although the heaven's chain and the helmet can trap Jean Grey, as soon as Zheng removes the equipment of Gilgamesh's heroic spirit card, these two treasures will also dissipate. Zheng can't keep equipping this heroic spirit card. He saw Jean Grey's resentful expression and knew that she must be unwilling to give up. This person is powerful but mentally unstable, and keeping her is a hidden danger. Zheng walked to Jean Grey, who was tied with a heaven's chain and kneeling on the ground. Before equipping Gilgamesh, Zheng might have had a little pity for her. Now that he was affected by the heroic spirit card, facing such an ignorant woman, he only had impatience in his heart. Jean Grey saw Zheng cold eyes, as if telling her, "If I can kill you once, I can kill you a second time." Facing Zheng Bin's murderous aura, Jean Grey's face changed. Gilgamesh killed countless people, and after equipping this card, Socrates was also affected. Facing this deep and terrifying, Jean Grey couldn't control her fear and trembled slightly. Jean Grey showed mercy when fighting mutants, so the mutants lying outside the door were not seriously injured. At this time, they woke up one after another. You promised me that you wouldn't kill her." Storm held the doorframe and said weakly. Zheng Bin's murderous aura paused, and then disappeared without a trace in an instant. "I cannot kill her, but can you guarantee that she will not do anything that harms the Earth again?" "Zheng Bin." The Avengers heard that Zheng Bin wanted to let Jean Grey go, and they all spoke up. "This woman is too dangerous. We must not let her go. She destroyed the peace between mutants and ordinary people." Jean Grey sneered. "Destroyed the peace? Those so-called peace are all illusions. They are obtained by sacrificing the dignity of our mutants." Although the mutants present did not agree with Jean Grey's approach, they all flashed a trace of sadness on their faces when they heard Jean Grey's words. No matter how much they contribute to the Earth and how many humans they protect, for ordinary people, they will always be just aliens. The ability of mutant is the original sin. As long as their ability is still there, they will never be able to truly integrate into the Earth. And this time, after their personalities were affected, they have openly declared war on ordinary humans. The days ahead will be even more difficult. Everyone cast their eyes on Zheng Bin. They are all waiting for Zheng Bin's decision. If Zheng Bin wants to kill Jean Grey, no one here can stop him. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. If he wants to save Jean Grey, similarly, no one can resist. At this moment, Quicksilver appeared holding a person. Before entering the building, Zheng Bin arranged for Quicksilver to do something. In order to prevent the same situation from happening again, he has decided to destroy Professor X's body. But Professor X is the leader of mutant after all, and he thinks it is necessary to inform them before doing this. So he asked Quicksilver to bring Professor X's body over. Quicksilver gently placed Professor X's body on the ground. All the mutants present couldn't help but shed tears when they saw Professor X's body. Mutants who were close to Professor X even cried out in pain. Professor X was not only a teacher, but also a father to them. When Professor X died, many of them were not there. When they rushed back to school, his body had been stolen. Therefore, for many people, this was the first time they saw Professor X's appearance after his death. Jean Grey's originally gloomy face was also moved when she saw Professor X. She held back the tears in her eyes and asked Zheng Bin, "What do you want to do by bringing Professor X's body here?" "I want to completely destroy his body." After hearing Zheng Bin's words, Jean Grey's tears had been rolling and her eyes flowed down. Mutants didn't say anything after hearing this, although they felt bad seeing Professor X's body. But if they were given a choice, they would also choose to destroy Professor X's body. If Professor X's brain was kept, it would be the most dangerous thing for the Earth. Zheng Bin stood aside and let the mutants come forward one after another to say goodbye to Professor K's body. During this process, Jean Grey kept her head down, making it difficult to see her expression. When the last mutant said goodbye, Jean Grey looked up and said to 260 Zheng Bin, "I also want to say goodbye to the professor." Zheng Bin raised his eyebrows after hearing this and nodded in agreement. The heavens chain wandered around Jean Grey's body, and finally only tied her limbs to facilitate her movement. Jean Grey walked slowly and heavily to Professor X's side, knelt on the ground, and held Professor X's hand, which had become cold and stiff. Jean Grey's eyes suddenly widened, revealing an unbelievable expression. Professor X's voice rang in her mind. "Professor?" Jean Grey quickly responded in her mind. "You are not. This is my last consciousness." Professor X saw what happened on Earth recently in Jean Grey's memory and sighed. His voice was full of pain. "This is all my fault. I'm really sorry." "No, you were just used by HYDRA, and I just did what I always wanted to do. Jean, this is not you. The students I teach will not be like this." Scenes appeared in front of Jean Grey. When she first joined the X-Men, she was on a mission, and rescued many ordinary people from terrorists. There were sincere smiles on their faces. She helped a little girl take down a balloon hanging on a tree and got a sweet kiss on the cheek from the little girl, soft and warm. These are the bits and pieces of Jean Grey's interactions with ordinary people. She forgot that she had also felt warmth and touched by these ordinary people. She also forgot her original intention of joining the X-Men. Protection. Not only protect her own tribe, but also to use her special power to protect the world. Jean Grey cried to Professor X in her mind, "I can't turn back." Okay, look behind you. After Jean Grey grabbed Professor X's hand, she suddenly burst into tears. The mutants showed concern when they saw it. Although their current ideas are completely different, they were once such close comrades. This bond cannot be easily cut off. Jean Grey turned her head, and in her blurred vision wet with tears, she saw the worried expression on her friend's face, and her tears became more violent. Professor X's voice rang in Jean Grey's mind. "Jean, don't forget the softness in your heart, and don't be controlled by the Phoenix Force. You are my proudest student, and I believe in you." Jean Grey could feel that after Professor X said this, his last bit of forgiveness dissipated. "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry." Jean Grey woke up, and she was about to suffocate in the surging guilt. The various crimes she committed, killing the troops sent by the government, launching genetic bombs. Unlike other mutants who were affected, she was always sober when doing these things. Jean Grey looked at Zheng firmly. "I was wrong. I am willing to accept any punishment." The strong hostility in Jean Grey disappeared completely, and now her eyes were clear. Zheng showed an interested smile. Jean Grey's attitude changed drastically in such a short time. It seemed that something happened to her when she met Professor X that he didn't know about. Professor X is really a mysterious existence. Zheng collecting habit of Gilgamesh broke out. He put the body of Professor X lying on the ground into Gilgamesh's treasure house. "It seems that you have no ill will toward the earth now, and it is not my job to judge you." Zheng removed the heavenly chains from Jean Grey. The Avengers Wonder Man made a dissatisfied voice. "You believed her when she said she had no ill intentions. How could you let such a dangerous person go?" Suddenly, a 5.5 long sword appeared out of thin air from behind Zheng and shot towards Wonder Man. Wonder Man didn't expect Zheng to suddenly attack, and stood there for a while without reacting. Captain America, who was standing aside, hurried forward and blocked the attack of the long sword with a shield. The long sword attacked very quickly and with great impact. At the moment of collision with the shield, huge amounts of sound were made, and sparks flashed at the place where the weapons collided. Captain America took several steps back with the shield before he could barely stand firm. A clear scratch appeared on the shield, which is said to be made of vibranium, the hardest metal on Earth. Captain America roared in a low voice, "Zheng!" Zheng raised his eyes nonchalantly and glanced at Captain America. "When will it be your turn to question my decision?" Because of Zheng unreserved help this time, Captain America and others felt that Zheng was a person who was easy to get along with. And until at the moment, Captain America and other people who had contact with Zheng before suddenly remembered what he had done when they saw the malice in his eyes, remembered his previous contempt for human life. For a moment, the scene became quiet. Zheng was deeply bored when he saw the Avengers' face, as if they were facing a great enemy. Zheng knew that his current state was influenced by Gilgamesh. If he continued like this, he would most likely not be able to suppress the malice in his heart and do something interesting. Everyone saw a burst of light, and the golden armor on Zheng disappeared, and turned back to the original modern clothes. And the suffocating pressure on him also disappeared. "There is nothing else that needs my help, so I will leave first." 11. Black Widow moved her mouth after hearing this, wanted to ask Zheng to stay. Although Mutant seems to have returned to normal now, it is unknown whether there will be any unexpected situation. It is still reassuring to have Zheng here. But before Black Widow could finish her words, she saw Captain America shaking his head at her, so she had to swallow her words. Captain America's thoughts were exactly the opposite of Black Widow's. Although the Avengers made a lot of mistakes in this incident, They did not break the law under the high pressure of Captain America. Mutant is different. Not only did they establish their own country, they also killed a lot of ordinary people. He must take these mutants back and let the government judge them according to the law. Zheng Bin's attitude is unclear now, so don't be on guard against him if you stay here. Before leaving, Zheng Bin said to Gwen Stacy, who was looking at him eagerly, "Come to me when you are done, and we will have a good talk about your ability." After saying that, he left with Sanzang. After leaving Manhattan, Zheng Bin still had one thing to do. He first called Pepper. "Hello, Mr. Zheng?" "Hello, Miss Pep." "The Nyoyu issue has been resolved, and they are back to normal." "Really? That's great." Pep's surprised voice came from the other end of the phone. "It's just that I didn't see Mr. Stark here at the Avengers. Is he busy during this period?" "No." Pepper's hesitant voice came from the other end of the phone. "He has been busy with extremists recently. Is he in San Francisco now?" "He left yesterday." "Do you know where he went?" "No." "You know Tony's character. He left without telling anyone." Pepper's voice became very uneasy, "Mr. Zhang. Is there something wrong?" "Nothing, just curious. If you see Tony Stark, remember to say hello for me." After Zheng Bin hung up the phone, the expression on his face immediately became gloomy. "MD, I was deceived. Captain America would not have informed Tony Stark that he was going to attack Mutant. For the real Tony Stark, the Jeanne bomb, which concerns the lives of tens of millions of people, would definitely be his top priority. So, why do we see him in Manhattan? Tony Stark has not recovered at all." Zheng Bin laughed in anger. Tony Stark looked like he was pretending that day. He looked so upright. 623, why would he be an entrepreneur with such acting skills? He might as well be an actor. Since Zheng Bin obtained the heroic spirit system, he has been living smoothly. There are very few times when he is not satisfied. This time, being deceived by Tony Stark, in addition to being angry, aroused his desire to win. If Tony Stark told other lies, Zheng Bin's heroic spirit's intuition would have noticed it. However, Tony Stark's lie this time was just to play himself. He integrated the backup of Iron Man, and his acting was flawless. Even the heroic spirit's intuition could not find that he was lying. But it seems that the lie at that time was just a temporary solution for Tony Stark. Zheng Bin, who is also a genius, knows that a proud person like Tony Stark would never be willing to pretend to be someone else. So, what is Tony Stark planning to write this time? He will wait and see. The farce that lasted for more than half a year finally ended. After the farce ended, all the superheroes involved in this battle had to go to court and be tried. The trial lasted for several months, and there were nearly 100 defendants. This was a trial of the century, which shocked the world. The TV station broadcast the trial of these superheroes in court every day. When there was no live broadcast, the news broadcast was also an analysis of heroes or events related to this. This time, Zheng Bin was also involved in this war, so he was supposed to sit in the dock. It was just the confessions of the Avengers and Mutant that proved his innocence and contribution. So Zheng Bin's trial was just a formality, and he was acquitted on the day of the trial. As soon as Zheng Bin walked out the court gate, he was stopped by countless reporters who heard the news. "Mr. Zheng, what do you think of this war?" "Mr. Zheng, you are the first superhero to come out. Did you use the relationship with the capitalists?" Asterisk S. Countless microphones poked in front of Zheng Bin, and flashlights flashed wildly. "Mr. Zheng, who do you think is innocent in this incident?" Originally, Guan Ban, who was walking forward with his eyes straight ahead, stopped when he heard this. He looked at the reporter who asked the question seriously and said, "In my opinion, everyone is innocent in this incident." The next day, the headlines of major newspapers were, "The chairman of Shin Industry believes that all superheroes are innocent." Emma Frost handed the newspaper to Zheng Bin. "The government will never announce the truth of the reversal of the axis of good and evil. Otherwise, it will cause panic. What you said will only cause the public to be disgusted." Zheng Bin put the newspaper aside. "It doesn't matter." Emma Frost was very troubled. "Obviously, you have made the greatest contribution this time and can improve the image of the company. Such a good opportunity was wasted like this." "Don't worry, it won't be wasted. Just when Emma Frost and Zheng Bin were chatting, the doorbell rang. Emma Frost, I'll go open the door. When the door opened, Gwen Stacy was standing outside. Female version of Spider-Man. Gwen looked at Emma Frost generously. Excuse me, is Ben here? Emma Frost raised her eyebrows. This little girl feels different from before. Every time Gwen saw her before, she always had a polite smile on her face. But anyone with a discerning eye could see that. It was a forced smile. Emma Frost was too good. And Gwen Stacy always felt a little inferior when facing her. Now Gwen looked generous. Even without using the ability, Emma Frost could see that the girl in front of her was different from before. She was full of confidence now. It seems that getting the Spider-Man ability has changed her. Yes, he's in the living room. Thank you. Gwen Stacy smiled brightly when she saw Zheng Bin sitting in the living room. Ben, I missed you so much. Gwen Stacy rushed to Zheng Bin and hugged him tightly. Zheng Bin was a little surprised by the sudden warmth and softness. He and Emma Frost had the same feeling, but Gwen Stacy seemed a little different. He hadn't felt such enthusiasm from his girlfriend for a long time. Why did you come here? Have you finished court? Not yet. Gwen Stacy pouted, a little dissatisfied. They scheduled my Wang Zhaohao time at the end of the month because I'm not important enough. They scheduled the trial time of the core figures of the Avengers before me. Zheng Bin touched his girlfriend's long hair. This is good. Otherwise, you won't have time to find me. Emma Frost just walked into the living room and saw the intimate behavior of the two. Her face couldn't help but become a little ugly. Feeling Emma's gaze, Gwen Stacy smiled even more charmingly in Zheng Bin's arms. Ben, I came to you today to tell you about my experience. Can Miss Frost leave first? Zheng Bin agreed. Emma, you go first. I'll contact you later. Emma Frost's stiff smile could no longer be maintained. She looked at the two people on the sofa expressionlessly and left. Zheng Bin saw Gwen's smug smile on her face and pinched her cheek helplessly. Emma has left, so you can start talking. He has always known that Emma Frost has feelings for him. Emma Frost is beautiful, has excellent abilities, and is considerate. It can be said that it is difficult for any man not to be tempted. Moreover, Emma Frost is his right-hand man and has helped him a lot in his work. But Zheng Bin has never given her any hope. In addition to the fact that he already has a girlfriend, he does not want to lose such a capable assistant. After obtaining the heroic spirit system, he has equipped many heroic spirits. Most of the 413 are emperors. His personality is also deeply influenced by these heroic spirits. His current personality is decisive and ambitious, and he does not care much about love. Compared with a girlfriend who only brings him pleasure at certain times, a capable assistant is definitely more important. So Zheng Bin has never broken the paper between him and Emma Frost, maintaining a close relationship. As for Emma, whether Frost would be killed because of this was no longer within his consideration. Gwen enjoyed the intimate moment with her boyfriend. She gently rubbed her cheek against Zheng Bin's hand. I just want to be alone with my boyfriend for a while. After acting coquettishly with Zheng Bin for a while, Gwen said seriously, Ben, there's a problem with the Osborn sect group. Osborn. Zheng Bin remembered that Harry Osborn was the heir of the Osborn group. Yes, you know I have always been interested in biology. Before, the school had the opportunity for us to visit the Osborn group, so I went with them. I was bitten by a spider in the Osborn group by accident and gained super abilities. After I discovered my abilities, I went back to Osborn to find out what my abilities were. Eee! Gwen's face showed an uncomfortable expression. Then I saw that the Osborn group was doing human experiments. They were conducting an evil, cruel, and disgusting experiment. I saw with my own eyes that a man turned from a human into a monster with a green body, and then turned into a pool of water. I originally wanted to figure this out, but not long after, my personality was affected. I completely forgot about it. Zheng Bin, do you want to continue investigating this matter now? Gwen Stacy looked firm. Yes? Then go, Zheng Bin said to Gwen. But if you encounter danger, you must contact me as soon as possible. You have the rescue software I designed on your mobile phone, and I will find you as soon as possible. Gwen looked at Zheng Bin tenderly. Bin, thank you. There have been too many things happening recently. Zheng Bin left the Earth some time ago. The two of them haven't been intimate for a long time. Gwen Stacy got the spider's ability. Her physical strength is much better than before, and her senses are also enhanced, and the touch brings her a stronger feeling. And Zheng Bin's physical strength is now far beyond that of ordinary people. The contact between the two is also more harmonious. They persisted until the next morning. This kind of refreshing feeling is also the first time Zheng Bin has experienced it. Men are really sensual animals. Because of this pleasure, when Gwen left, Zheng Bin rarely felt a little reluctant. Gwen Stacy left a kiss on Zheng Bin's forehead and left. Zheng Bin lay on the bed with a satisfied look on his face and savored it for a while and got up. After washing up, Guy Wu prepared to go out to Shin Industry. The company has been closed for such a long time, and it is time to start operating. Shin Industry has been in a state of loss for several consecutive months. You know, although the company is now closed, he has been paying salaries to employees. If this continues, his originally not rich worth will be used up. As soon as he returned to Shin Industry, Min Jin-woo saw Emma Frost was already in the office. Good morning, Emma Frost said with a face full of resentment. Zheng Bin pretended not to notice Emma Frost's face full of resentment and directly arranged a task. Contact the employees to come back to work. Their vacation is over. When Emma Frost first met Zheng Bin, she wanted to say something. But later, seeing Zheng Bin's official appearance, she had to grit her teeth and leave the office. After Emma Frost left the office, Zheng Bin didn't rush to work. Compared with work, he had something more important to do. That is debt collection. System, I let so many superheroes remove blackened status, which can be regarded as completing the task, right? Where is my reward? Unlike the usual summons, the system waited for a long time without responding. System? Zheng Bin called again. Wouldn't the system be reluctant to give him the reward because the amount was too much? Replying to host, I just communicated with Chaldea. The task issued is to kill, and contacting blackened status does not count as completing the task. Then why was Captain Marvel considered to have completed the task before? That was a special case. Special situation? Zheng Bin's eyes were filled with a storm that could erupt at any time. If that's the case, how about I go and kill all those superheroes now? I'll kill as many as I recover. Wait! The system's mechanical voice suddenly sped up, and then there were a lot of noises. After a while, a clear male voice sounded in the noise. Hello, host, I'm Romani Ackerman, the acting director of Chaldea. Zheng Bin suddenly heard a strange voice in his head, a little surprised. Hello, Romani Ackerman. It's like this, host. Actually, when your soul traveled, our Chaldea was attacked. Most of the heroes have been scattered in this world. In fact, there are not many heroes left in Chaldea. We didn't expect that you, the host, would complete the task so quickly. Now we only have 5 heroes left that you haven't summoned yet. The rest of the heroes have either been summoned by you or collected by you, and there is no way to meet the host's many card draws. Zheng Bin was puzzled. If you really don't have many heroes left, why did you release such tasks before? You released dozens of tasks in one go. Roman's voice was a little awkward. Well, it's because we have some problems in Chaldea. I can't keep an eye on your situation all the time, so the authority to release tasks is entrusted to artificial intelligence. When I came back yesterday, I was also shocked to see the number of card draws I owed you. So all the card draws I used to complete the tasks before are invalid. Roman sighed. Alas, I am actually very happy to reward the host. The more heroes the host draws, the stronger the ability and the faster the speed of collecting heroes will be. It's just that our current situation does not allow it. Please forgive me. The Roman Ackerman spoke in a very sincere tone, and his voice had a soothing magic. It stands to reason that with Zheng Bin's personality, he would definitely be disgusted by the system's inconsistent behavior. But under the comfort of Roman Ackerman, he accepted this statement. Please give me flowers. Okay, you don't need to redeem all the card draws for me. But didn't you say that Chaldea still has 5 heroic spirit cards? In this case, Give them all to me at once. 1. Definitely no problem. Roman's voice was full of smiles. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet. I still have questions. Zheng Bin continued to ask, if there are no more chances to draw cards, then what will you use to reward me in the future? I've thought about this a long time ago. Roman said excitedly. Just like before, you get a chance to draw a card for each task you complete. Every time you collect 10 chances to draw a card, you can summon one more heroic spirit at the same time. What do you think? 0. Zheng Bin's eyes lit up. In other words, I only need to collect 10 more chances to draw a card to summon 2 heroic spirits, and 20 chances to draw a card to summon 3 heroic spirits? That's right. The strength of a heroic spirit is already amazing enough. If you can summon a second and a third one, then in this world, he can destroy the world with just a wave of his hand. I agree. Zheng Bin agreed immediately. Okay. Roman's voice was accompanied by more and more noises. It's a pleasure to work with you. Our machine is now running out of energy, and artificial intelligence will still serve you next. I hope we will have a chance to meet in the future. Roman's voice stopped abruptly. The system's mechanical factor replaced Roman's voice. Host, I have received the order and will now issue 5 heroic spirit cards. They are Small, Moriarty, 5-star class, Archer. Ishtar, 5-star class, Archer. 1. Karna, 5-star class, Lancer. 11. Enkidu, 5-star class, Lancer. Neza, 4-star class, Lancer. For the 5 cards given by the system this time are 5-star. Zheng Bin now finally knows why he's been drawing 5-star card before, because of 9, 8, 7 or something. It's not because of his good luck, but because the most left in Chaldea are 5-star cards. You can draw it at any time. All the heroes of Chaldea have been issued, and the card drawing service will be closed from today. Okay. Zheng Bin looked at the 5 newly drawn cards, kept Enkidu's card, and put the other 4 stations into the heroic spirit library. He carefully looked at the life story of Enkidu on the card. When Zheng Bin equipped the heroic spirit, because of the integer of the soul, he would see some memories belonging to the heroic spirit. The more times he equipped, the more memories he saw. When he equipped Gilgamesh several times before, Zheng Bin could see a very important person in his memory, Gilgamesh's best friend, Enkidu. Enkidu was originally a divine weapon made by the gods to balance the hero king Gilgamesh, but later became Gilgamesh's unique best friend. Enkidu is also the only one who can appease Gilgamesh's tyrannical character. Zheng Bin thought, maybe when he summons Gilgamesh in the future, if he can't control him, he can equip Enkidu to try. After satisfying his curiosity, he put Enkidu back into the heroic spirit library. Nick Fury leaned against the head of the bed, and he and Other the Superhero was trapped by Captain America. Unlike other superheroes, although he is the king of agents, his physical fitness is better than that of ordinary people. But in the end, he is just an ordinary person. After this period of time, his body became very weak. He is now recuperating in the hospital. However, as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., even in the hospital, he still pays attention to the situation outside. After a week of judgment, the heroes who betrayed innocence now include Captain America, and some are waiting to go to court. As for Mutant, most of them should be found guilty. Black Widow thought a mutant and felt a little reluctant. They were actually affected to become like that. The real them never thought of hurting ordinary people. At the last moment, they also went with us to stop Jean Grey from launching the gene bomb. Nick Fury did not comment. Let's wait and see. He looked at the document in his hand, which had a list of participants in this incident. 066112424 Phil 181190470. Why is Tony Stark not here? Before the war, Captain America had contacted Tony Stark to fight against Mutant together, and he agreed. But he didn't show up at the last moment. Didn't you say that Zheng Bin had restored him? Yes. Zheng Bin went to San Francisco to restore him. Nick Fury pondered. The Tony Stark I know is not someone who would ignore the lives of tens of millions of people. Go and investigate Tony Stark's recent whereabouts. Okay. When necessary, you can ask Zheng Bin for help. Black Widow raised his eyebrows. Director, didn't you say that Zheng Bin's personality is volatile and we should try to avoid contact with him? Yes, Nick Fury said, but Zheng Bin really surprised me this time. He saved the world. If it weren't for him, we would definitely have more deaths and the scope of the impact would be 4.7 larger. Thinking about Zheng Bin's previous performance, Black Widow agreed very much. Yes, it's really fortunate that he is here this time. So, Zheng Bin will not ignore Tony Stark. He knows very well that if a genius like Tony Stark really stands on the side of evil, how much disaster can it bring to the world? Nick Fury thought for a moment and continued to say to Black Widow, if necessary, you can reveal to Zheng Bin the true relationship between him and Tony Stark. Shin Industrial is back on track, and ordinary employees and mutant employees have returned to their posts one after another. In the office of Shin Industrial, Wanda, Boss, Pietro, and I don't want to leave Yo-Yo. We want to work at headquarters. Wanda and Pietro looked a little nervous because they didn't know whether Zheng Bin would agree to their request. But they joined Shin Industrial in the hope of being closer to their god. Their current ability is stronger than most mutants, and sure thinks she is stronger than Emma Frost. Since Emma Frost can stay with Zheng Bin, why can't they? Zheng Bin immediately agreed to 24 after hearing their request. Yo-Yo is not stable yet, and he needs more manpower here. Even if the two siblings say it, he will take the initiative to propose it. In this way, Wanda and Pietro both stayed in Shin Industrial and were temporarily arranged in the security department of headquarters. The trial of the century has also come to an end, and Zheng Bin's reputation has risen to an unprecedented height. Zheng Bin's name appeared in almost every hero's confession, and all of them mentioned Zheng Bin's contribution in this war. Some people even edited the clips of Zheng Bin mentioned in the live broadcast of the trial and put them online. If it weren't for him, this war would definitely last longer and the casualties would be even more severe. He is the key to this war, and he brought us peace. The one I am most grateful to is Zheng Bin. Countless people clicked on this video, and after watching it, they deeply engraved Zheng Bin's name in their hearts. All the media praised Zheng Bin, and all kinds of good words were piled on him like they were free. After all, they're just ordinary people. If Mutant really launched the gene bomb at that time, they would also be victims. After escaping catastrophe, they are definitely grateful to their savior. And Zheng Bin took advantage of this momentum to reopen all the home appliance stores of Shin Industry. The economy of magnesium is now in recession, and there is not much profit even if it is reopened. But there is also an overseas market. With this publicity opportunity, the industry has really made a name for itself around the world. The profits in the overseas market have increased significantly. In addition to the people, the government of the United States also has a very good impression of Zheng Bin. They used to think that Zheng Bin was difficult to control and was a time bomb. After this incident, the government of the United States realized how lucky it was for their country to have someone like Zheng Bin. What rebelliousness, what moodiness, all our prejudices. He is a real hero. The government of the United States also took the initiative to purchase a large number of weapons from Shin Industry, and the price and conditions offered were very favorable. When Zheng Bin arrived at the scene to sign the contract, General Ross looked at him with a complicated expression. "You, very good. I was wrong before. I'm really sorry." After experiencing the dictatorial captain of the United States and the massacre of a large number of soldiers by mutant, General Ross had to admit that he was wrong before. Sometimes strong suppression does not bring peace, but more resistance. After hearing General Ross's sincere apology, Zheng Bin was surprised for a moment and then accepted it. He didn't know what the old man had in mind, but it would not do him any harm to ease a relationship with the military's top brass. Just as Nyoyu was gradually recovering, a riot broke out in San Francisco, 070. A large number of people surrounded the San Francisco branch of Stark Industries. All of them looked crazy, holding various weapons in their hands and smashing the glass on the first floor of the building. "Miss Pep, what should we do now? Although we use bulletproof glass on the first floor, we can't stand them knocking like this. They will rush in soon," an employee said anxiously, with a look of fear on his face. The other employees were the same, and their faces showed expressions of fear. Those people downstairs were crazy. Who knew what would happen if they rushed in? Chili frowned and asked the assistant beside her, "Did Tony's call go through?" "Not yet." Chili thought for a moment, took out her mobile phone, and dialed the number. "Hello, Mr. Zheng? I'm sorry. I have something to trouble you with." Not long after Zheng Bin hung up the phone with Pepper, Black Widow came to the door. "Bin, just now?" San Francisco rioted. Black Widow was stunned. "You already know about this." "Yes, I just received a call from Pep. But I am very curious why she asked me for help instead of choosing the Avengers who are closer to her." Black Widow knew that in addition to the fact that Zheng Bin gave people the impression of a savior in the previous war, which made people dependent, there's another reason why Pepper trusts Zheng Bin. But this reason, she can't say it now. So Black Widow smiled and replied, "Maybe it's because you saved New York before, so she believes you can save San Francisco." Zheng Bin also laughed and said, "Then she should be very disappointed, because I refuse her request for help." "What?" Black Widow was very surprised. She had never expected Zheng Bin to refuse. She had discussed with Nick Fury for a long time before coming here how they could help Zheng Bin solve the problem in San Francisco. Their plan was for Zheng Bin to be the main force, and they, the Avengers, would only assist. After all, not only New York City, but also many superheroes were seriously injured. This serious injury not only refers to physical injuries, but more to psychological injuries. They were all repenting and feeling guilty about what they had done before. Some heroes were almost collapsed and needed the government to send psychologists to help them with psychological counseling. They simply could not send people to solve such a large-scale riot in San Francisco. Who knew that Zheng Bin had no intention of intervening? Black Widow's smile became a little forced. "Can I ask why?" Zheng Bin asked back with a smile. "Why should I go? It seems that it is your duty to ensure Social Security. Isn't it for you to better protect the country that my god industry pays so much tax?" He had participated in the axis of good and evil before, and only a small part of the reason was because of his little kindness left. More importantly, he made a choice after weighing the pros and cons. Zheng Bin's series of questions made Black Widow speechless. She also saw Zheng Bin's attitude. Indeed, Zheng Bin has never been a member of their Avengers. Even if he participated in the Avengers for a period of time before, it was just a stopgap measure. They have no position to ask Zheng Bin. In the end, Black Widow had to leave God Industry with a heavy heart. She had to go back and tell Nick the bad news. Fury, since Zheng Bin did not issue any tasks for the San Francisco incident, he would not take action. Otherwise, he would have to ask him for help if something happened in the future, which would be very troublesome. The last riot was suppressed by the army in San Francisco. It was Emma Frost who told Zheng Bin about this. Otherwise, he would not know, because he has been too busy recently. He has no time to take care of these things. Shin Industry is finally going to go public. Shin Industry has been developing well from the beginning. In fact, Zheng Bin has been preparing for the listing with Emma Frost. After solving the plagiarism incident of Justin Hammer, Emma Frost has already submitted the materials for listing. The listing process takes about half a year, Chien Nuoz, about 9 months. Originally, when Zheng Bin came back in the universe, Shen Industries should have been about to go public. Who knew that the previous axis of good and evil incident would delay his listing plan? And now, after the axis of good and evil incident, the entire U.S. economy is depressed and all companies are losing money. Only Shin Industry, because of Zheng Bin, has stood out and has turned from loss to profit in a short time. At this time, the listing process has also ended, and Shin Industry can choose a time to officially go public. Before the listing of Shin Industry, the valuation of each share of IPO was about $250,000 US. You know, the share price of Stark Industry owned by Tony Stark, the richest man in New York, is about $300,000 US. It is the highest praise for Shin Industry that a new company like Shin Industry, which has been rising for less than 2 years, can have a share price similar to that of Stark Industry. Many economists believe that the valuation of Shin Industry is so high, perhaps due to Zheng Bin's current national favorability. When it is actually listed, the actual share price will definitely be lower than the valuation. Who knows? On the day of listing, the share price of Zheng will soar to 320,000 US dollars. It is even higher than the first enterprise in New York, Stark Industry. It seems that the position of the richest man in New York will soon be replaced. All economists who have published about the inflated valuation of Shin Industry have been slapped in the face. All the shares of Shin 823 Industry were sold out on the day of issuance. Did you buy it? Justin Hammer asked his men. After the news of Shin Industries' listing was released, Justin Hammer kept watching, although he is slandering God Industry all day long. But the development of God Industry is obvious to all. Anyone who is not stupid can see that God Industry has risen now and will soon become a legend of American enterprises. Justin Hammer's subordinates looked pale. No, didn't buy it. Damn it. Didn't I tell you to buy it as soon as possible? How could you not buy it? Hammer Industries has been getting worse and worse since the plagiarism of God Industry. Recently, when he heard that God Industry was going to go public, Hammer Justin quickly took out all the cash in the company. He also sold a lot of real estate to raise money. Now, he said that he couldn't buy God Industry stocks. On the other side, Wakanda. Shuri, how is it? A black girl with 2 buns rolled her eyes at her brother. I'm going to take action. What else is there to worry about? All the stocks are in hand. But I don't understand. Shuri looked at his brother, now the king of Wakanda, T'Challa, puzzled. What's so special about this company? So special that you bought its stock and asked me to use hacker techniques. I don't think its market value is much. Only the royal family of Wakantian can easily say that a company worth hundreds of billions is not worth much. After all, they have mines. Vibranium mines. Chatra said to Shurue, Anyway, I have my own intentions. You don't need to care. God Industry. Emma Frost rushed into Zheng Bin's office in a hurry. Boss, all our stocks have been sold out. Zheng Bin looked down at the documents without looking up. Isn't this a normal thing? He chose this time to go public after evaluation. It just so happened that this cash can make up for the losses of God Industry during this period and invest in the company's operations later. After all, they just signed a big order with the United States. Even if the deposit has been received, it still requires initial capital investment to manufacture such a large number of weapons. It's normal, but so far, the number of our shareholders has only increased by 1 compared to before the listing. This means that all their listed stocks were bought by 1 person. Zheng Bin's hand, which was originally writing, paused. 1 person. Yes. Zheng Bin attaches great importance to the shares of his company. He is now influenced by the character of the emperor's spirit and does not want to share his rights to the company with others. And now, someone has actually obtained 10% of his company's shares. Even if most of the shares are still in his hands, he still has absolute decision-making power. This matter will make people feel unhappy after all. Emma Frost stood aside and dared not speak. When Zheng Bin was in a bad mood, the breath exuded from his body was very compelling. She was originally telepathic and was more sensitive to this breath than ordinary people. Even if this displeasure was not directed at her, this overwhelming pressure made her body and mind terrified. Soon, the pressure dissipated. Help me check who bought the shares. Emma Frost moved quickly. The current Shin Industry is no longer the small company with no foundation in the beginning. The current Shin Industry is a towering tree in the business world of magnesium, with intertwined roots and firmly rooted in the ground. With the current connections of Shin Industry, Emma Frost did not even activate her mutant ability and easily got the other party's name. T'Challa. This person bought the shares of our company. Zheng Bin was a little surprised when he heard the name. He was not surprised because the name was not from magnesium at first glance, but because he had seen this name in his few memories of Marvel. The King of Wakanda, Black Panther. The stock price of Shin Industry is so high that even Tony Stark can't take out so much cash at once. But T'Challa can. He is the owner of the vibranium mine, the rarest metal in the world, let alone such a small number of shares. He can afford 100 Shin Industries. So, this is a strange part. How could the richest man in the world be interested in his divine work? This was not even complete divine industry, but only 10% of the shares. This puzzled him. Okay, I understand. Zheng Bin said Emma Frost. Hold the shareholders' meeting next month. It is now certain that Black Panther has intentions towards divine industry. In this case, Black Panther will not miss the shareholders' meeting next month. But before the shareholders' meeting started, Black Widow came again. This time, Black Widow said to Zheng Bin very seriously, Bin, this time we really need your help. Sorry, I'm really busy with the company recently and can't get away. Now the trial is over. If there's anything, you can ask Captain Magnesium and others to go. Captain Magnesium and other Avengers have already arrived in San Francisco. But San Francisco is now completely out of control. Even if they go there, they can only temporarily control the riot. But those people are really too crazy. They can't hold on for long. In this case, it won't help if I go there. Zheng Bin is very persistent. As long as the system does not issue a task, he will never take action. Black Widow gritted her teeth and looked at Zheng Bin anxiously. She knew that Zheng Bin must have a way to solve the problem this time, just like the previous axis of good and evil incident. Didn't the woman next to him use a way to restore everyone to normal? The current situation in San Francisco is caused by extremists released by Tony Stark before. Extremists can change people's physique, become stronger and smarter, and in addition, it can also change people's appearance. After using extremists, their appearance will gradually become perfect. Extremis is good in every way, except for one thing. It can only last for 1 month. This is the time set by Tony Stark. If it exceeds a month, everyone will return to their original form and become their flawed self again. If you want to continue using extremists, you have to pay to renew it. He wrote. It's just that Tony Stark has disappeared recently, and people found that even if they renewed the subscription, they didn't become perfect again. They have been using extremists for a while, and they're used to perfection, and they suddenly fell into madness. They have long forgotten what they looked like before, and only remember how they looked after being transformed by extremists, suddenly becoming ugly and physically deteriorating. No one can stand this gap. They have completely lost their minds and blame the government for Tony Stark's disappearance. It must be the government of Magnesium that trapped their savior. As long as Tony Stark comes out, they can become perfect again. So the riots in San Francisco broke out. The population of San Francisco is close to 1 million. Such a large population can only be dealt with by the military, and Superhero is powerless to resist. You can't just kill everyone. The government of Magnesium has been blocking the news. So until now, other cities don't know about this. Magnesium has been in tatters after the last incident, and such rumors cannot be spread again. The problem must be solved before the information leaks out. And now, they put all their hopes on Zheng Bin. Black Widow's expression changed, and finally made up her mind and said to Zheng Bin, you must solve the San Francisco riots. Zheng Bin saw that Black Widow's expression was so sure, and he was also a little curious about what reason she would give. Oh? Why? Zheng Bin was really shocked this time. His eyes were fixed on Black Widow, not wanting to miss every subtle change in her facial expression. What did you say? Facing Zheng Bin's pressing eyes, Black Widow's heart trembled, but she still looked at Zheng Bin's eyes seriously. I said, Tony Stark is your biological father. No wonder. He had noticed Tony Stark's attention to him a long time ago. At first, he thought it was because Tony Stark saw his potential. But after 760, he found that Tony Stark seemed to care about him especially, and even had an inexplicable liking for him. He thought Tony Stark was paving the way for him to use him in the future. So this is the reason. Black Widow saw that Zheng Bin was silent, thinking that he didn't believe it. We took your hair for identification before. If you don't believe it, I can give you the report. I believe it. Zheng Bin had no doubts about what Black Widow said. He knew that SHILD would not tell such a low-level and easily exposed lie. Black Widow heard Zheng Bin's words. Her face was sunny. When are you in San Francisco? I won't go. What? Zheng Bin's expression was unusually cold. Why? Do you think I will clean up the mess for the so-called father? It turns out that the suffering he and his mother have suffered for so many years was caused by this man. If Tony Stark had not disappeared now, Wu would definitely go to find him, give him back all the suffering he and his mother have suffered over the years. He now has many ways to make Tony Stark want to live, but not die. Tony, he didn't know you existed before, and he has always wanted to compensate you. Zheng Bin directly ordered him to leave. There is nothing to say about this matter. The only thing I can do for Tony Stark is to collect his body for him. Seeing Zheng Bin's face full of anger, Black Widow could only leave first. Walking out of the building of Shin Industry, she looked at the building in front of her with a sad face. She originally thought that blood ties were inseparable. No matter how cold-blooded Zheng Bin was, he would be moved when facing his last relative in the world, who knew that this incident not only did not help at all, but also made Zheng Bin so disgusted. Is San Francisco really hopeless? 000. The shareholders' meeting was held, and all those present were senior executives who had been allocated a small portion of the original shares in Zheng Bin's company. Emma Frost walked to Zheng Bin's side and whispered in his ear, "Boss, we set the shareholders' meeting to start at 10 o'clock. It's already 10:20 now. The person Zheng Bin thought would appear has not appeared yet. Did he guess wrong? Black Panther bought shares of Shin Industrial just on a whim. No, it's impossible. Just like he wouldn't buy those roadside shops. The heir Wakanda would never be interested in such a small share of Shin Industrial. He believed in his own judgment. Wait a little longer." The meeting room was silent, and everyone saw Zheng Bin's calm expression and didn't dare to breathe. They all felt that the boss's aura was getting stronger and stronger, and the pressure on them was getting greater and greater. Many people present were veteran employees of Shin Industrial. When they first joined the company, they saw that Zheng Bin was so young, and they were very relaxed and comfortable with each other, and even joked from time to time. But now, they all felt that the pressure on Guy Wu was too heavy. Even staying in the same space with him alone was a kind of trembling feeling. 15 minutes passed, and Black Panther still didn't come. Zheng Bin had to admit that he might have guessed wrong this time. "Emma, let's start." Emma Frost, the executive CEO of Shin Industrial, stood up and spoke. "Everyone, this is the first shareholders' meeting after Shin Industrial went public. First of all, please look at the screen behind me. This is Shin Industrial's quarterly, 3.9. Emma Frost reported Shin Industrial's quarterly earnings and future development plans to the shareholders present. When the meeting was halfway through, the door of the conference room was opened. A tall, well-dressed, and very majestic black man walked in. Behind him were several black women wearing strange, see-through clothing. "Sorry, I'm late." The black man looked at Zheng Bin, who was sitting in the middle of the conference table. "I'm Chala." Because the meeting was still going on, Zheng Bin just stood up and shook hands with Chala before sitting down again. He was not in a hurry to say anything to Chala. On the contrary, Chala's appearance showed that his previous guess was correct. Chala must have some plans for Shin Industry, or rather, for him, since he had already appeared. He was just waiting to take action. Sure enough, after the meeting, Chala stepped forward to stop Sakatake, who was about to leave with everyone. "Mr. Zhang." Chala smiled and said to him, "Can you please leave some time for me?" Zheng Bin raised his eyebrows in surprise. "Definitely." The two of them went to Zheng Bin's office together. The bald black women also followed in. "I wonder what Mr. Chala wants to tell me." "Mr. Zhang, I will buy the shares of Shin Industrial because I think Mr. Zhang is a very capable person, so Shin Industrial will definitely develop better in the future. It is not easy to buy so many shares of Shin Industrial at one time. I wonder what industry Mr. Chala is in. I am just a leader of a small African country. Buying shares of Shin Industrial can be regarded as an investment for our country. A country needs to buy shares of other companies for investment, which sounds really backward." Zheng Bin smiled without saying anything, watching the performance of the hidden richest man in the world. The funds of this world's richest man may be beyond the reach of all the companies in their entire New York City. Zheng Bin's eyes were astonished, and he saw Chala's dress from the moment he came in. Although Chala was well-dressed, his watch, shoes, and suit were not luxury brands. If Zheng Bin had not seen Marvel in his previous life, he would probably have been fooled. seeing that the things Chala wore were so ordinary, neither luxurious nor expensive. But Zheng Bin had seen marvel in his previous life. The things on Chala should have been made by the country of Wakanda. Think about the advanced and sci-fi scenes of that country, which are far ahead of the high-tech of other cities on Earth. Wakanda's products will definitely not be inferior. Even someone like him who has seen the technology of other planets in the universe is very curious about Wakanda. And knowing Wakanda is so powerful that Zheng Bin would not offend such a country casually without conflict. After all, Mr. Chala's attitude seems to be very friendly and sincere. Seeing that Zheng Bin did not speak, Chala continued, Mr. Zheng, and I hope that God Industry, there's another very important reason. Here it comes. Zheng Bin knew that Chala was going to tell his true intentions. Before, there was a man named Ulysses Clow who came to my country and killed my father. Chala's eyes flashed with pain. Our country tried every means to hunt him down, but we couldn't find his whereabouts at all. I heard that God Industry has the most stringent security department in the world. I hope that God Industry can help us find this person so that I can kill my enemy and avenge my father. Ulysses Clow, 10 famous mercenary leaders. Zheng Bin went to learn about the mercenary groups in this world when he established the security department before. Ulysses Clow is a leader of an internationally notorious mercenary group. He plundered countless wealth with brutal means. I have heard of this person. He is very dangerous. Mr. Chala, why do you think I am willing to do this for you? Just because you bought our shares? If you have learned about Jeanne Industrial, you should know that these shares can be sold out in a short time even if you don't take action. The bald black woman behind Chala frowned when she heard what Zheng Bin said, as if she was very uncomfortable with the tone of Zheng Bin talking to Chala. After listening to Zheng Bin's words, Chala just smiled politely. Definitely, I know that Jeanne Industrial is the most promising enterprise in the United States now. I didn't order Mr. Zheng because I bought these shares. I'm just asking for Mr. Zheng's help. 673 definitely. This help is not free. I will pay Mr. Zheng. If even Wakanda, a country with the most advanced technology, can't find Ulysses Clow, it means that this person can't be found by technological means. And non-technological means can be said to be what Zheng Bin is best at, whether it's his heroic spirit system or the security department of Jeanne Industrial, which is full of mutants. Finding Ulysses Clow is just a piece of cake. Zheng Bin thought about it and agreed to Chala's request. I agree to cooperate with you to find Ulysses Clow. However, I have a condition. Chala heard Zheng Bin's words and showed a happy expression. You said, as long as I can do it, I will definitely agree to you. I want a piece of vibranium that weighs no less than 50 kilograms. Chala looked at Zheng Bin in doubt. Why did he mention vibranium? Does he know the secret of our country? After hearing what Zheng Bin said, several bald black women looked at him with suspicion. Their muscles were tense, as if they were ready to attack Zheng Bin at any time. The air froze for a moment. Zheng Bin looked at Chala naturally, as if the person who just opened his mouth was not him. 50 kilograms of vibranium metal is definitely a small amount for Wakanda, but now the total amount of vibranium metal in the United States may be less than 10 kilograms. Logically speaking, how could a backward African country like them come up with so much gold? Chala looked embarrassed. Mr. Zheng, don't joke. How could a country like ours have vibranium? Anyway, this is my request. I will help you only if I see vibranium. Please think about it carefully. Although there are many rare metals in the universe, Zheng Bin has always been interested in vibranium produced on Earth. The owner of a vibranium mine came to him himself. How could Zheng Bin miss this opportunity? As for what the other party might think and doubt, he didn't care at all. Since you need help from others, you should have the attitude of asking for help. Can you let us consider it? Definitely. Chala left the building of God Industry with several black women. The black woman in the lead asked Chala worriedly, Does Zheng Bin know the secret of our Wakanda? I don't know whether he knows our secret or deliberately makes a condition to make things difficult for us because he doesn't want to help us. Chala frowned and said, Let Shuri monitor Zheng Bin comprehensively. Notify me immediately if there is any unusual movement. King, don't you know Wakanda? No. During this period, I will stay in the United States to see if I can find Ulysses Clow. San Francisco. The riots of San Francisco residents are getting worse day by day, although SHIELD has sent all the superheroes to San Francisco. But because they don't want to hurt the residents of San Francisco, they have many concerns when they take action. So they are at a disadvantage when suppressing the mob. You must know that these mobs have long lost their reason, and as time goes by, their hearts become more and more crazy. Everyone has only one thought in their mind, that is, let the government hand over Tony Stark. Although Captain America's genes have been modified by serum, he still feels tired from fighting day and night. Captain Golden Gate Street. Falcon put away his steel wings and landed next to Captain America. When he saw Captain America resting tiredly against the wall, he stopped talking. Captain America looked at Falcon with bloodshot eyes. Golden Gate Street? Falcon worriedly advised, Captain, your condition is too bad. You should rest first. No, I feel fine. Golden Gate Avenue is not far from here, and Captain America ran in that direction with his shield. When he arrived at the scene, Captain America saw that there were already troops there to maintain order. They threw countless tear gas and flash bombs at the mob. But when a group of mobs fell, new ones joined the battlefield. Captain America rushed into the crowd and tried to knock them out one by one, without hurting them. But many of the mobs were carrying weapons, and Captain America was injured again. Oh my God! There's another group of mobs here. Where did these people come from? Why can't we catch them all? Peter Parker's panicked voice came from the headset. Captain America's movements became a little weak due to the new and old injuries. Just hearing the content in the headset, he gritted his teeth and held on. In the past, we were fighting against our enemies. Now our weapons are actually aimed at these citizens of Magnesium, who we have always wanted to protect. Captain America felt very sad. Someone in the mob actually took a pistol and shot Captain America's right leg. Captain America fell to the ground in pain, and the mob rushed up to punch and kick him. At the beginning, Captain America used a shield to fight back a few times, but there were too many people rushing up. In the end, he could only use the shield to protect his head. The mobs kicked the shield that symbolized the American spirit. Captain Black Widow, who came over, saw this and threw smoke bombs into the crowd. King Zhao. Damn it, they have experienced so many severe wars and survived in the end. Isn't he going to die in the hands of ordinary people like them? Wow, it's really wonderful. Sure enough, the effect of watching it live is much more exciting than using cute eyes. Black Widow was startled by the sudden appearance of the person next to him. The man was wearing a robe like a British necromancer and a huge amount of hat on his head. Black Widow looked at the strange man who appeared out of nowhere with caution. Who are you? The man put his right hand on his chest and bowed slightly to Black Widow, looking very elegant. Hello, beautiful lady. Let me introduce myself. My name is Merlin Tail. Black Widow saw Merlin's peculiar outfit and his special temperament. Her intuition told her that this person must be related to Zheng. But in this situation, she couldn't think too much. If this continued, Captain America would definitely be more seriously injured. Black Widow fired 2 shots at the sky with a pistol. Enough! Stop it. Suddenly, the mob stopped their actions, and the crazy look on their faces turned into a happy expression. Then they fell down one after another. Exclamation point. Black Widow was startled and found that Merlin beside him had a scepter taller than a person in his hand. Merlin noticed Black Widow's surprised look, turned his head, and smiled at her. Miss Beautiful's wish. I will definitely help to achieve it. Captain America, who was originally lying on the ground, found that the fists and feet on his body were gone, and he opened his eyes. He saw people lying on the ground, and hurriedly got up and checked the pulse of the people around him. He was relieved to find that there was only a heartbeat, and that 787 must have fainted. Merlin's outfit was so conspicuous that Captain America saw Merlin standing next to Black Widow at a glance. Like Black Widow, Captain America also thought of Zheng when he saw Merlin for the first time. He limped to the front of the two. Did you do this? They are not in danger of life, right? Don't worry. They are just in a dream, sleeping peacefully as if they had died. Hearing Merlin's words, Captain America felt relieved. Normally, he would not trust someone he met for the first time so much. Maybe it was because the aura of this person was very similar to Zheng Bin. Yes, even if Zheng Bin refused to lend a hand to save San Francisco this time, he still had an inexplicable trust in Zheng Bin. Because he had experienced so many things before, he always felt that Zheng Bin would never let the world go. Black Widow couldn't help but ask, "Do you know Zheng Bin?" Merlin, "Definitely, I'm his teacher. Teacher of magic." Black Widow was shocked when she heard it, and looked at Merlin a few more times. She thought Merlin was also Zheng Bin's subordinate, like the previous ones. There are often people wearing strange clothes, with special temperament and strong strength around Zheng Bin, and the names of these people are usually related to historical figures. They all call Zheng Bin Master. Shild had studied Zheng Bin's ability before. These people should all be summoned by Zheng Bin, and summoning powerful helpers is one of his abilities. However, considering that Nick Fury had asked Zheng Bin about the ability before, and a series of disasters were triggered later, they dare not explore Zheng Bin's ability now. Zheng Bin never avoids the heroic spirits he summoned, and calls them by their names directly. However, because the images of most heroic spirits are too different from those in history, even if they hear them, they will not associate them with historical figures, but will only think that they are code names, just like Black Widow of Shenkaku. I didn't expect you to be Zheng Bin's teacher. Then you must be very strong. Captain America said from the bottom of his heart. Merlin smiled without saying anything, looking like a hermit. If Zheng Bin heard Captain America's words at the scene, he might roll his eyes. Zheng Bin obviously learned all the knowledge of magic by himself, and Merlin only provided some notes at most. He actually took the title of teacher for nothing. So, Merlin, may I ask if you are here to help us solve the difficulties in San Francisco this time? Merlin looked around and said indifferently, "Right. It just so happens that I am more interested in this extremist and the person who invented it. In this case, I will also get involved." Hearing Merlin's words, Black Widow and Captain America showed pleasant smiles on their faces. That's great. Merlin followed the two back to the Avengers' temporary base in San Francisco, and the group of mobs who were in a coma just now have been handed over to the military. When they wake up, they will find themselves in prison, waiting for the final judgment. After returning to the temporary base, Black Widow found a deserted place and called Zheng Bin. "Hello, Bin." The last time the two met, the atmosphere was very stiff, and Black Widow, a social expert, didn't know how to start for a moment. "What's the matter, Natasha Romanoff?" Black Widow was relieved to hear Zheng Bin's tone as usual, without any change. "Do you know someone named Merlin?" "Huh? Merlin came to San Francisco." "Yes. He said he is your teacher?" Zheng Bin was speechless for a few seconds because of Merlin's shamelessness. "Please tell Merlin to come to me when he is free. I need his help with something." When Black Widow conveyed Zheng Bin's words to Merlin, he had his own concerns. "If you leave San Francisco, will you come back?" "Definitely. Don't worry, I will be back soon. I know where Tony Stark is, and I will take you to see him." "You know?" Black Widow was a little surprised. The Magnesium government tried every possible means, whether it was technology or other supernatural powers, but failed to find the whereabouts of Tony Stark. Merlin actually found the whereabouts of Tony Stark? Merlin pointed his eyes. "Because I'm watching everything that is happening in this world." Black Widow didn't understand what Merlin meant by this, but it didn't prevent her from telling this good news to others. Hawkeye couldn't believe it after hearing it. "So many of us have been looking for Stark for several months, but we still have nothing. Do you believe this weird man?" "Definitely. He is Zheng Bin's teacher. You know, Zheng Bin always has some means that we can't understand. Captain America, in that case. Let's wait for him to come back. I believe him too." On the night when Zheng Bin finished his phone call with Black Widow, Merlin showed up. It was already early morning when Merlin came, and Zheng Bin had already fallen asleep in bed. He suddenly felt something and opened his eyes. "You're here." Zheng Bin sat up from the bed, looked at Merlin standing in the middle of his room, and said with a smile, "Teacher Merlin?" Hearing the sarcasm in Zheng Bin's words, Merlin didn't feel embarrassed at all and smiled and replied, "My students need help. I definitely rushed here as soon as possible. Zheng Bin saw Merlin's calm look and didn't bother to argue with him anymore. The few months he had been with Merlin before had made him accustomed to this person's thick skin. Do you know why I asked you to come here? Ulysses Clow. You want to find this person, right? Yes, Zheng Bin said half-truthfully. Sometimes I really want to take you back to the heroic spirit library. Acute eyes. This kind of ability is really annoying. No one wants to be in a state of being helmeted at any time, let alone people like Zheng Bin. Acute eyes made him feel threatened. Merlin raised his hands in surrender. I have no ill will towards you. You know, this is just a little hobby of mine. So are you going to find Ulysses Clow now? Not for now, but it should be in the next few days, and I will contact you then. Black Panther has never come to Zheng Bin since the shareholders' meeting that day. Since he hasn't got what he wants, there is no need to rush to find someone. But he knows that Black Panther will find him in the end. If Wakanda has spent so much time before and hasn't found this person, that means that he is the only one in the world who has the ability to find him. Black Panther must have thought of this. Merlin smiled meaningfully. Okay, then I'll wait for your notice. In this case, I'll leave first. There is still a group of lost lambs waiting for my guidance. Zheng Bin waved his hand and watched Merlin's figure gradually fade until it disappeared. Black Panther's compromise was faster than Zheng Bin thought. He thought Black Panther would take a few days. Who knew that he would call Zheng Bin the next morning after meeting Merlin? Mr. Zheng, I agree to your request, but I have one condition. I hope you don't tell anyone about vibranium. A small African country can produce so much vibranium. These dozens of kilograms of vibranium may even exceed the total amount of vibranium known in the world now. T'Challa doesn't want his country to be targeted by others. 0. As for why Zheng Bin knew the secrets of their country, T'Challa didn't want to delve into it for the time being. Don't worry, I'm not a talkative person, Zheng Bin said to T'Challa on the phone. In this case, you should get ready. I will take you to find him later. What? You found him? T'Challa screamed out, and the voice coming from the phone showed how surprised he was now. Yeah. With Merlin's acute eyes, it is so easy to find someone. T'Challa shouted excitedly. I'll come right over now. As soon as he hung up T'Challa's phone, Zheng Bin's phone rang again. It showed that Black Widow was calling. After the call was connected, Merlin's voice came from the other end of the phone. Hello? It's me, Merlin. So this is how it feels to use a mobile phone. Ha, it's quite... Zheng Bin knew that Merlin must have seen the conversation between him and T'Challa just now, so he interrupted his chattering and talked about business. Come to San Francisco to find me. I'll take you to find an artificial person now. T'Challa and his guards rushed to Shin Industrial as quickly as possible. As soon as T'Challa saw Zheng Bin, he couldn't wait to ask, Where is Ulysses Clow? Come with me to San Francisco first, and you'll know when the time comes. Okay. I'll get my plane over now and we'll go right away. Your plane is too slow, so let's take my transportation. Francis. As soon as they entered the door, they saw a red-haired woman with a scar on her face and very revealing clothes standing directly behind Sakatake. At this time, she responded cheerfully, Okay, master. 837. They heard the girl mutter a few words, and they didn't know what she said, and suddenly huge amounts of light appeared on her body. When the light faded, they saw a luxuriously decorated wooden boat floating outside the office's ground floor building. T'Challa asked Zheng Bin, Is this a magic ship? When analyzing Zheng Bin's ability, the magnesium media named the ship Magic Ship. In addition, there are many inexplicable supernatural abilities of Zheng Bin, and the media will add the word magic in front of them, because his skills and treasures look dazzlingly beautiful, just like scenes from legends or fairy tales appearing in the real world. Although the word magic sounds childish, it is actually the closest to people's understanding. Yes, Zheng Bin can understand from T'Challa's question that T'Challa has already checked his abilities. Think about the technological level of Wakanda. Maybe he knows himself better than the government of magnesium. After Zheng Bin touched the glass window of the office with his hand, the glass window slowly fell down. Zheng Bin made a pleased gesture and asked Chala and his party to go up first. Chala and his guard stepped out the window and stepped onto the Golden Deer's boarding stairs. One by one, they got on the ship. As soon as the people of Wakanda got on the ship, they couldn't help but look at the wooden ship. The decorations on the ship were as gorgeous as a hull, but it was just an ordinary wooden ship. There was no mechanical trace on the hull, and I really didn't know how it could fly. Chala gently stroked the cuffs of his suit and turned on the scanning function. Immediately, the perspective, stereoscopic, and plan views of the ship were transmitted to Wakanda. Finally, Zheng Bin and Francis also boarded the ship. Francis stepped onto the Golden Deer and immediately took the captain's posture. She raised her right hand and shouted, "Set sail." Everyone felt a flash in front of their eyes, and the scenery on both sides changed rapidly in front of them, making it impossible to see clearly. It took only a few minutes to get from New York to San Francisco. Normally, the Golden Deer only takes 0.1 seconds to circle the Earth. But considering that there are ordinary people on the ship, Francis was asked to control the speed to a level that humans can bear. So it took a little longer to reach San Francisco. Chala and his guards shook their bodies and got off the ship and finally couldn't help bending down and shaking violently. After enduring the limit of human beings, they just vomited instead of fainting, which was already a manifestation of their usual well-trained. After Chala finished vomiting, Shuri's voice came from a nanocommunicator hidden in his cochlea. "Brother, you finished vomiting, right?" Shuri didn't care that her biological brother had just vomited to death, and just said excitedly, "It's amazing. I just saw from the invisible camera that the speed of this ship is so fast. This speed is faster than our latest supersonic aircraft. I think it's at least 10 times faster. In addition, I have finished watching perspective you just sent over. Guess what I found? This ship is just an ordinary wooden boat. The perspective does not show any machinery or power source. I'm really curious. How does this ship start?" After listening to Shuri's words, Chala looked back at the wooden boat parked behind them with a complicated expression. The scanner invented by Shuri found nothing on this ship? Is it really magic? If it is magic, how powerful must it be to achieve this? For point one, just as Chala was lost in thought, a group of people approached them. Chala's men saw a vague figure not far away, and they all put their hands on their weapons and were on guard. The leader of this group of people was a handsome man wearing a strange robe. Behind this man followed a dozen people, all of whom were very familiar superheroes. Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Falcon, etc. Merlin raised his hand and waved, greeting Zheng Bin. The superheroes standing behind him had very complicated expressions when they saw Zheng Bin, especially Black Widow. She was the one who had the most contact with Zheng Bin among the superheroes present. She was also the one who was rejected the most in the San Francisco riot. It was impossible to say that she had no grudges against Zheng Bin, but she could not forget the help Zheng Bin had given them. So her feelings for Zheng Bin were particularly complicated. When everyone greeted Zheng Bin, she was the only one who hid in the crowd silently without saying anything. "Merlin, since everyone is here, let's go. The person you're looking for is in the same place." Tony Stark and Ulysses got together? Zheng Bin couldn't help laughing. This is really interesting. The world's #1 philanthropist is actually mixed with a villain. Captain America looked at Zheng Bin with a request. "Can we get on your transport 24? This way we can get there faster." Zheng Bin would not refuse such a small request, so the group boarded Francis's Golden Deer together. The ship was moving forward at an incredible speed, and just like before, the people standing on the ship endured huge amounts of discomfort. The Golden Deer stopped in a snowy land, according to Merlin's instructions. All the people rushed to get off the boat and vomited. Even the superhero who had been strengthened could not avoid feeling dizzy. Zheng Bin, Merlin, and Francis walked down from the boat leisurely. Zheng Bin looked around and asked Merlin, "Mousy country?" "Yes." Merlin raised his hand and pointed to a cave halfway up the snowy mountain. "That's it." Zheng Bin nodded and said to Francis, "Next, I need to change a hero to play." Francis, who usually behaves very freely, is unwilling to leave easily this time. "Master, am I just a tool in your eyes?" You only summon me when you need my treasure every time. Hearing Francis' words, Merlin smiled and watched the show. Zheng Bin saw the vulnerability hidden in Francis's rare serious expression, but he was most impatient to deal with these romantic matters. So he asked in a hurry, "What do you want?" 11. Forget it. Seeing Zheng Bin's impatience, Francis's pride made it impossible for her to make any demands on Zheng Bin. Zheng Bin had no choice but to recall Francis' card to the heroic spirit library. You are really popular with women. You are almost catching up with me. Merlin looked meaningfully at Black Widow, who had just vomited and was sitting on a stone with a pale face. A playboy like him had long noticed a vague feeling for Wu in Black Widow's eyes. Zheng Bin ignored Merlin's teasing and just walked to Chalia's side. The person you are looking for is there. Do you want to go there now? Chalia's eyes burst with hatred. Definitely. Then let's go. Zheng Bin snapped his fingers, and he and Chalia and his party floated in the air. Seeing Zheng Bin was about to leave, Captain America exchanged glances with the other Avengers. If Tony Stark was also inside, he must have already made arrangements here. There would be countless mechanisms and weapons waiting for them inside. The safest way is to follow Zheng Bin. Merlin, can you help us get there? Captain Magnesium asked Merlin. No problem. Merlin waved the scepter in his hand, and the Avengers also floated up. Zheng Bin suddenly noticed something, and when he turned around, he saw the group of people flying behind him. The magic used by Merlin was the same magic as Zheng Bin. The basis for launching this magic was the magic base that Zheng Bin had engraved in the Earth's veins. If he wanted to use the same magic as Zheng Bin, Merlin had to build a magic base and engrave it on the Earth's veins. Otherwise, he could only use magic through Zheng Bin's magic base. Obviously, he used magic without hesitation to the magic disc built by Zheng Bin. As the builder of the magic base, Zheng Bin felt someone using the magic base at the same time as Merlin started the magic. It was like the Wi-Fi in the next room was stolen, and the speed slowed down. Because he shared a magic base with others, Zheng Bin clearly felt that the power of the magic he was using had dropped by 920. He glanced at Merlin, who had already flown to his side. You are very good at it. However, Zheng Bin was not very surprised that Merlin could use the same magic as him. After all, he was the legendary magician. With the base built, how could he not be able to use such a simple magic? Merlin heard the sarcasm in Zheng Bin's words and smiled indifferently. Soon, everyone landed outside the cave. Almost at the same time their feet touched the ground, countless artillery fires shot at them from all directions. Seeing these artillery fires coming from nowhere, the first thought that flashed through everyone's mind was, it's over. Even though their reaction ability and physical ability were far higher than ordinary people, but facing this sudden and fierce attack, they had no time to react. At this moment, several silver walls suddenly appear around them, blocking the storm-like attack for them. The shells hit the wall, making a heavy sound. Although the shells were blocked by the wall, everyone was still very tense. When everyone was on guard, only Merlin was still leisurely. Don't worry, these shells can't penetrate these mercury. Black Widow and Captain America, who had seen Zheng Bin's ability, breathed a sigh of relief when they saw these walls appear. Others were even more scared after hearing Merlin's words. Mercury is so fragile. How is it possible? Since Zheng Bin's own ability was enhanced, after equipping the heroic spirit, the impact on his personality was much smaller. However, after equipping the first emperor, when he heard these foreigners questioning his ability, he couldn't control his anger at this moment. You dare to say that my Mercury is fragile? An arrow made of Mercury was aimed at Falcon, who had just spoken. At this time, everyone realized that Zheng Bin's current decoration was completely different from the beginning. Captain America and Black Widow looked at each other. It seems that Zheng Bin was possessed again. The word possession was developed by SHILD after studying Zheng Bin's information. They found that in addition to being able to summon various non-humans with super abilities, Zheng Bin himself can also inherit these abilities. The method to detect whether he has inherited an ability is also very simple. Just see if he is wearing clothes that are different from modern clothes, as well as his way of doing things and his demeanor. If Zheng Bin is possessed, his personality seems to be affected by these abilities. Black Widow knows that Zheng Bin's personality may have become someone else now. Seeing his aggressive behavior, he hurriedly comforted him. "No, Bin, he didn't mean it when he said this. Please forgive him. I apologize for him." Zheng Bin glanced at Black Widow and snorted coldly. However, the mercury arrow aimed at Falcon disappeared. The sound of the shells blocked by the mercury wall continued to sound. Logically, the sound of the shells hitting should be very loud. But this mercury wall not only isolates the shells, but also seems to isolate the noise. They only heard a slight impact sound inside the mercury wall. The shells have been fired for more than 10 minutes. Hawkeye, damn it! Why does Tony Stark have so many shells? When will it stop? I thought he was no longer an arms dealer. Chala, maybe Tony Stark is no longer an arms dealer, but the other person inside, Ulysses Klaue, is the most notorious mercenary leader in the world, and he has a lot of inventory. In fact, Ulysses Klaue's remaining inventory is not much. Tony Stark leaned against the wall, looking at Ulysses Klaue with despair on his face, and said casually, "I told you a long time ago that as long as Zheng Bin is here, such an attack is useless. Damn it, my ammunition depot is almost empty. Where are the weapons developed by vibranium that I gave you before? Didn't you say that the development is ready? Take it out quickly. It's useless, look carefully." Tony Stark stepped forward and pointed at the mercury wall on the display screen. "It's obvious that no matter what shells you launch, as long as they touch this silver wall, they will be melted and then absorbed, even vibranium. Is there no way now? Stop the attack and let them in." Tony Stark smiled confidently at Ulysses Klaue. "As long as they come in, I will find a way to stop them from leaving." The violent attack finally stopped. Zheng Bin withdrew all the mercury walls. Chala looked at the surrounding environment. They are on the snowy mountain. They made such a big noise. Aren't they afraid of avalanches? Captain of the magnesium country, we will know what's inside soon. Everyone entered the cave. The cave was dark. Except for Merlin and Zheng Bin, everyone else had prepared tools. They used tools to illuminate the cave, and the scenery inside was instantly clear. This cave was very narrow, and you could see the end at a glance, and it looked no different from an ordinary cave. It was just that everyone had just been attacked by countless shells, and no matter who it was, they would not think that this was just an ordinary cave. Tony Stark must be hiding in it. Zheng Bin saw Merlin standing aside with a smile on his face, looking like he was standing by and watching. He knew this man's bad taste very well, and knew that he must be standing aside to watch the show, and he couldn't count on him. Chala ordered his men, "Find the mechanism as soon as possible. The person we are looking for must be hiding here." Chala's men just approached the wall, and suddenly, silver liquid quickly covered the wall, blocking their movements. Almost in the blink of an eye, the whole cave was covered with mercury. The smooth mercury emitted a glittering silver light, just like a mirror 283, and people could clearly see their faces on it. Everyone looked at Zheng Bin, and they knew who had created this scene at a glance. Under everyone's gaze, the mercury covering the walls, the top of the cave, and the ground suddenly emerged with various weapons. Laser guns, sonic cannons. Zheng Bin used mercury to explore the entire cave, and it took less than 10 seconds to dismantle all the mechanisms and weapons released by Tony Stark and Ulysses Klaue. After Zheng Bin removed the mercury from the cave, everyone saw the weapons on the ground that had just been spit out by mercury, and they felt scared. If they had just explored the cave by themselves, they would have likely triggered the mechanisms of these weapons. In such a narrow cave, if these weapons were triggered, the consequences would be disastrous. They could already imagine themselves being beaten into a pile of mud. Everyone thought at the same time that it was fortunate that Takeshi Saka was here this time. The stone wall at the end of the cave slowly opened to both sides. After the stone wall was completely opened, the scene inside was so spectacular that it was speechless. No one could have imagined that such a space was hidden deep in this cave. There were more than a dozen floors here, and there were many abandoned military trucks and rusty weapons on the ground. Captain Magnesium, this should be the former Soviet military base, but be careful, Captain Magnesium raised his shield to block several bullets that were shot from nowhere. These bullets are shot from different angles. There must be other people here. Chala, they should be Ulysses Cloud's men. Black Widow. They are all hiding in the dark, waiting to ambush us. We must be careful. Hawkeye, can you analyze which direction these bullets are coming from? Hawkeye heard what Black Widow said, and immediately squatted down and looked carefully at the bullets on the ground. These bullets are obviously shot from a high place, I guess. Bang! 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 Sept. Hawkeye was interrupted by the sound of several bodies falling to ground before he finished speaking. A small silver ball slowly flew back from the air to Zheng Bin's open palm. BR. When these mercenaries fired their bullets just now, Zheng Bin had already seen their positions clearly. While they were talking, he killed all the mercenaries hiding in the high places with Mercury, captain of Magnesium. It seems that this place has been cleaned up. Let's go. Chala glanced at his men, who nodded slightly and then quietly turned on the detector hidden in the glasses. This detector was invented by Princess Shu Rui, which can penetrate the wall and analyze the people and objects in the entire room. Soon, she found that there were many sophisticated instruments hidden underground. It seems that there are other spaces hidden underground. Chala saw his men blinking at him and instantly understood what he meant. This place is too big. Why don't we act separately, so that the search will be faster? Chala's purpose of coming here this time is Ulysses Cloud, and he doesn't want to cause any trouble. No matter what the reason is for this group of Avengers to find Tony Stark, it has nothing to do with him. The captain of Magnesium agreed to Chala's proposal. He could see that Chala didn't seem to be with the Avengers. Zheng Bin came for Chala, and he would definitely act with Chala. The captain of Magnesium actually didn't want to be separated from Zheng Bin. Zheng Bin's existence could be said to be the greatest guarantee for their lives. But he thought about Zheng Bin's attitude towards Tony Stark before. He was also a little worried that Zheng Bin would threaten Tony Stark's safety. The best way now is for the two teams to search separately, and they find Tony Stark before Zheng Bin. Seeing that the captain of Magnesium had reached a consensus with him, Chala prepared to leave with his men. However, Zheng Bin did not follow them, but stood still. Mr. Zheng? Chala looked at Zheng Bin with an inquiring look. I'm too lazy to play hide-and-seek. Merlin, where's the person I'm looking for? At this time, Merlin, who had not said much and had a look of watching a good show, finally spoke. He pointed to the wall opposite where they were standing. Impossible, there is nothing there. Chala's men said immediately. She trusted her country's technology very much. Since the detector told her that there was nothing here, there must be nothing. The person they were looking for must be underground. And she didn't believe this weird man. Although this man had just shown great strength, this person looked like he didn't care about anything. She didn't believe he was really here to help. Zheng Bin ignored the bald black woman's rebuttal, and a small silver bead floated above his palm. The bead was spinning, and then it became bigger and bigger. Finally, it became a huge amount of sphere, and rushed to the location Merlin said. Bang! After a loud bang, the wall was broken, and a huge amount of hole appeared. And the big ball made of Mercury did not stop, but shuttled quickly inside. 2 steel battlesuits flew out of the big hole. Damn it! Stark, didn't you say there was a way to hide it from them? I have already hidden it from the group of people in Wakanda, but unfortunately there are other people here, which are some uncontrollable factors. ++. Hearing the sound coming from the 2 mechas, everyone was shocked. Ulysses Cloud. Chala looked at the battlesuit flying in the air with hatred. Chala ordered his men, shoot him down. After that, he shouted to battlesuit, Ulysses Cloud, I will use your blood to commemorate my father. Chala's men took their weapons and shot at the flying mecha. And the Avengers would not stand idly by. They were attacking Tony Stark's mecha. The only Falcon with flight ability also flew into the air and chased after Tony Stark. Tony, we know your situation very well. Let us help you. Don't do anything that you will regret. The captain of Magnesium persuaded Tony Stark on the ground. Forget it, Captain. Your old-fashioned rhetoric is useless to me. Tony Stark and Ulysses Cloud dodged flexibly in the sky. Tony Stark fired a laser at the top of the cave with a palm cannon, and a big hole was immediately broken in the cave. Hawkeye yelled, "Damn it! This is inside of the snow mountain. The outsiders fell in and trapped us." Immediately, a silver film covered the big hole and blocked it. This film spread outward and soon covered the walls and the ground of the entire cave. "Please give me flowers?" Tony Stark tried to fire a few lasers at the wall with his palm cannon. After these lasers hit the wall, there was not even a spark. The wall was smooth. Ulysses Klaue saw this and shouted at Tony Stark, "Use vibranium shells." "Don't I know that I should use vibranium shells at this time? Do you have to shout that the whole world knows what weapons we are using? Vibranium shells." Everyone couldn't keep calm after hearing this, including the people from Wakanda. Zero. Wakanda never uses in front of people from other countries, but many of their weapons also use bullets made of vibranium. Therefore, they know the power of vibranium shells better than anyone else. The hardest metal in the world, vibranium, if used as bullets and paired with powerful weapons, nothing in the world can withstand its power. They feel that even Zheng Bin's magical mercury is equally invincible. By then, they will really be buried in the avalanche. 2 rows of gun muzzles rose from the shoulders of Tony Stark's battlesuit. Falcon waved his steel wings and wanted to stop him, but was kicked to the ground by Ulysses Klaue. Falcon's body sank to the ground and fainted directly, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. "Sam," the captain of the Magnesium Country shouted, and rushed towards Falcon. "Tony Stark, JRVS, fire vibranium shells." The shells shot from the shoulders of Tony Stark's battlesuit towards the surrounding walls. The captain of the Magnesium Country shouted, "No!" "Tony." Everyone could only stand on the ground and watch the shells hit the wall. But the terrifying scene did not happen. These shells did not penetrate the wall. But just like before outside the cave, these shells were absorbed by the mercury. In just a few seconds, only half of them were still outside the air. But before they could breathe a sigh of relief, only half of the shells outside exploded. Deafening noises rang out in this closed space. It turns out that the focus of this vibranium shell is not the hardness of vibranium metal, but the large-scale explosion developed by Tony Stark. 667. The combination with vibranium metal is many times more powerful than ordinary metal. Tony Stark wanted to use these powerful explosions to blast a gap in the mercury, and they wanted to rush out at the moment the gap opened. No, the gap they thought did not appear. Tony Stark scanned the wall with battlesuit, and JRVS's voice sounded. "Mr. Stark, the scan is complete. The damage to the wall is 0.001%, and it is not damage enough for you and Mr. Kafang to pass through. 0.001%, almost negligible." The steel battlesuit that Ulysses Klaue wore also gave him the same information. Ulysses Klaue collapsed and screamed after hearing this. How is it possible? Such a power can blow a hole several tens of meters deep in the earth. Even vibranium can't resist it. How can such a thin layer of metal not be damaged? Merlin couldn't help laughing when he heard this. How could vibranium be compared with the mercury of the first emperor? Hearing this, everyone looked at Guan Ji. Even when the vibranium shells came out and everyone was panicking, he didn't even raise his eyebrows. It was as if everything was already under his control. I don't know if it was because of the illusion caused by the ancient costumes that represented the imperial power, or because of his steady posture. They actually felt the majesty of the emperor in Zheng Bin. One sentence can cause millions of corpses to fall and rivers to flow thousands of miles. It is precisely because he firmly controls the life and death of others that he can be so calm from beginning to end. Because the life and death of others is just a matter of his thoughts. Even the people of Wakanda feel that the pressure on Zheng Bin is something they have never seen in their own king. He is more like a king than T'Challa. They are more in awe of Zheng Bin than T'Challa. The captain of the Wakanda Guard noticed his thoughts and couldn't help but curse himself. T'Challa is their king, and such thoughts are really blasphemy against the king. The Avengers, who always thought that the Emperor's name Zheng Bin Call were just nicknames, also began to doubt. Such momentum and pressure, are they really just nicknames? But if these are really the abilities of the first Emperor, why have they never been mentioned in history books? And if the first emperor really has such abilities, then let alone unifying the six kingdoms. With his own strength, he can completely unify the world. Looking at Zheng Bin's calm face, everyone held their breath and fell silent. Only Ulysses Clow in midair was still talking. Tony Stark, you hurry up and find a way for me. You cheated me of so much vibranium. Are you going to let it go? When Ulysses Clow was cursing, he was completely unaware that danger was approaching him. The mercury on the wall closest to him suddenly changed its shape, extending several spikes and stabbing him. Warning, there is a weapon approaching. It is judged to be 5 meters long and made of mercury. Hearing the reminder from the artificial intelligence in the battlesuit, Ulysses Clow activated the ignition device on his feet, hoping to avoid the attack. However, the speed of these spikes was very fast, and they pierced Ulysses Clow's limbs in an instant. Ah! Ulysses cried out in pain, and the mecha on his body also flashed with fire and smoke. It seemed that the mecha on his limbs had been damaged, and the ignition device on his feet had gone out. The mercury was inserted into Ulysses' wound, and he flew to Zheng Bin. The mercury inserted into his leg directly hit the ground, making him kneel directly in front of Takeshi Saka. Tony Stark was not surprised at all that the mercury easily pierced the mecha he developed. Although the metal of these mechas is mixed with vibranium, it will normally become very hard and can at least block a few missiles. But Zheng Bin's mercury can block even pure vibranium shells, not to mention these mixed metals. Tony 3.4 Stark saw that his accomplice had been caught and knew that it was impossible to defeat Zheng Bin with his ability. So before Zheng Bin attacked him with mercury, he flew to Ulysses Clow's side. Zheng Bin turned his eyes away from Ulysses Clow and looked at Tony Stark. Zheng Bin's eyes were calm, but the longer he was stared at, the more palpitations Tony Stark felt. It was as if his life no longer belonged to him. Finding that Tony Stark did not understand what he meant, Zheng Bin spoke. He said indifferently, "Kneel down." "What?" "Kneel down." Tony Stark is a man who knows the current situation. Although he has the arrogance of a genius, he will not mind making some compromises for his life when facing danger. After all, life is the most important thing. As long as he keeps his life, he will have plenty of ways to retaliate in the future. But this time, in front of Zheng Bin's absolute power, Tony Stark found that he could not compromise. Maybe it's because they have the same blood. Or maybe even if Tony Stark's character has been affected in his subconscious, he still wants to retain his dignity as a father. Anyway, Tony Stark doesn't want to kneel in front of Zheng Bin now. Tony Stark still stood straight in the same place, as if he didn't hear what Zheng Bin said. Black Widow knew that Zheng Bin's character was not easy to get along with, not to mention that he was affected now. So he persuaded him, "Tony, get off the horse." Tony Stark was a little angry. "No." Two mercury spikes rose from the ground and pierced the mecha on Tony Stark's legs without hesitation. In the severe pain, Tony Stark knelt on the ground with both knees. After adapting to the strong pain, he began to move his legs and struggled hard. No, I will never kneel down. Sir, it is detected that the muscles and fascia of the calf are seriously damaged. If you continue to move your calf, the damage will be more serious. There is a 90% chance of death from excessive blood loss and a 64% chance of amputation. JRVSS reminder sounded in the mecha, but Tony Stark ignored it and just struggled desperately. Under Tony Stark's shrill cry, Zheng Bin looked at Chala. "He is yours." After being caught, Ulysses Clow huddled aside like a quail and dared not speak, fearing that he would attract the attention of Takeshi Saka. At this time, he heard Zheng Bin's words and begged for mercy. "Mr. Zheng, I have a lot of vibranium. If you let me go, I will give you all the remaining vibranium, and all the money I have earned over the years, I will give you all." Hearing these words, Chala looked at Ulysses Clow with even more horror, as if he wanted to peel his skin alive. Chala walked towards Ulysses Clow step by step with a pistol. He took off the battlesuit on Ulysses Clow's head with force, and the originally ferocious face now only had fear and pleading. "It was you, this disgusting, greedy killer who killed my father. Go to hell and repent." Bang! After a gunshot, A bloody hole appeared on Ulysses Cloud's forehead, and he fell down. Chala acted very quickly, without any hesitation or struggle, reflecting the decisiveness of a ruler. "Mr. Zheng, can you untie Tony first?" The captain of the Magnesium country saw blood oozing out of the wounded hole of Tony Stark's battlesuit, and was a little anxious. Although he has done many wrong things, please let the law punish him instead of letting him die from excessive blood loss here. After all, he is also yours. The captain of the Magnesium country had not finished speaking when he saw Jingbin's eyes looking at him suddenly become 640 sharp. Under the strong pressure, he interrupted his words. The captain of the Magnesium country felt huge amounts of danger and subconsciously picked up the shield to block himself. It was too scary. That look told him that the man in front of him had killed countless people. Otherwise, there would be no such strong murderous intent. The look in Jingbin's eyes was more terrifying than all the enemies he had ever seen. Captain America felt unprecedented pressure from Jingbin. After Jingbin removed his extension, the captain of the Magnesium country finally breathed a sigh of relief, but he didn't dare to speak again, for fear of angering Jingbin. Just a question also left a seed in his heart. Is this really the momentum that ordinary people can have? Will it be? "Chala, Mr. Zheng, I have solved all the problems. We can leave now." Jingbin nodded after hearing what Chala said. At this time, Tony Stark also fainted due to excessive blood loss. The Avengers looked anxious after hearing what Chala said. They needed a living Tony Stark. The situation in San Francisco was so urgent that without Tony Stark, there was no way to control the riot. But no one dared to give Jingbin advice. Not only did they give advice, they didn't even dare to make eye contact with Jingbin. The only person who was not afraid of Jingbin at the scene was Merlin, but he always stood aside with a smile and never took the initiative to help, just like a background board. Jingbin condensed a huge amount of mercury floor and let all the people in Wakanda stand on it. Then he controlled the mercury floor and left the cave. Not long after Jingbin left the cave, the water hole inserted in Tony Stark's leg also disappeared. Black Widow searched for a long time on Tony Stark's body, but couldn't find the button to release the battle suit. "Captain of Magnesium, we need to treat Tony's wound immediately." "Black Widow, Pepper should know how to release it. Call her." "No signal here." Captain of Magnesium looked at Merlin. "Can you take us away from here?" "Definitely." Merlin performed the same magic as before, and everyone floated up with the wind. When the Avengers came out of the cave, they found that Jingbin and his group were no longer there. Jingbin and Chala and his group stood on a white snowy ground outside the cave. Now that things have been done, they can go back to New York. It's just that Francis Drake's card cannot be summoned again because of the frozen time. In the Rider card in the Heroic Spirit Library, he is the only heroic spirit with a treasure that can allow so many people to ride. System, help me summon Edward Bakey. Okay. After a burst of light, the notorious pirate in history, Blackbeard, appeared on the snow. Edward Teach looked very unruly, with his upper body naked and only wearing an open long coat on the outside. When he was first summoned, he looked careless, but when he saw Jingbin, he was stunned. He had sailed on the sea for many years, staring at the ships of high officials and nobles and robbing poor fishing boats. It can be said that he has seen countless people. Although Jingbin's expression is very peaceful now, there's a kind of aura of majesty without anger. Intuition tells him that the current master is very scary. So his attitude obviously became respectful. "Master, do you have any instructions for summoning me out?" "Release the Queen Annie's revenge and take us back to New York." "Yes." Edward Teach, who usually loves to talk nonsense, didn't say a word this time and immediately released the treasure. Because the people of Wakanda had the experience of Francis's golden deer before, they were not surprised to see the big ship appearing out of thin air again, and they boarded the ship with calm expressions. The reaction of the people made Edward Teach, who was very confident in his ship, very dissatisfied. His Queen Annie was so majestic. Why were these people so cold after seeing her? Shouldn't they praise her endlessly? Edward Teach found that Jingbin was looking up and down at his ship as if he was very interested. So he overcame his fear and moved closer to Jingbin. "Master, What do you think of my Queen Annie? Not very good. It has to be said that the sea-level treasure and the A-level treasure are really far apart. This gap is not only reflected in the attack power, but also in the aesthetics. Compare with Francis's gorgeous golden deer. This ship is really too mediocre. It's just a larger wooden ship. Edward Teach, who was hit, dare not be angry and could only take everyone back to New York with grievance. After returning to New York, Zheng Bin recalled Edward Teach to the Heroic Spirit Library. Chalice sincerely thanked Zheng Bin. Mr. Zheng, thank you very much for your help this time. If it weren't for you, we don't know where we can find Ulysses Clow, and we are likely to lose our lives in this battle. It was you who saved us. Zheng Bin raised his hand and interrupted Chalice's endless thanks. If it's money, you are tired today, go back and rest first. If you have anything to say, we will talk later. After everyone from Wakanda left, Zheng Bin returned to Shinkojio. At the moment, it was already 3 a.m., and there were no employees in Shinkojio. Zheng Bin arrived at the building, a large warehouse that had not been used yet, empty and empty. He raised his hand, and huge amounts of silver balls appeared on the floor of the warehouse. The silver ball was so large that it almost filled the entire warehouse. After Zheng Bin put his hand down, the mercury on the surface of the silver ball slowly faded, and the things wrapped in mercury scattered all over the floor. Cash, weapons, gold, and silver treasures filled this originally empty warehouse instantly. These things were found by Zheng Bin when he covered the cave with mercury. This Russian cave is actually the base camp of Ulysses Clow. He had all the things he had plundered over the years there. This time the harvest was quite rich. Countless treasures appeared in front of Zheng Bin, but he didn't need to count them. The mercury had already made him feel what he had gained this time. Zheng Bin didn't care about the old collections, countless gold and silver jewelry, and a large amount of cash. Bringing them back was just a convenience. What Zheng Bin really valued here was a detailed diagram of the weapon. Sonic weapons. Although Ulysses Clow looked like a big and strong man, it was unexpected that he actually had a doctorate in physics. Ulysses Clow was an expert in this field. In addition to sonic weapons, he also began to study how to control sonic waves and make them form any new equipment, even use sonic waves to make creatures. However, the 753 research is still in the preliminary stage, and Ulysses Clow died before it could make any progress. However, now that he has a diagram of the sonic weapon, he has a deeper understanding of this field. He can continue Ulysses Clow's research on this basis. If the power of the sonic weapon after its development can really meet Ulysses Clow's idea and build a new creature, then the military power of the Earth will be improved by several levels, and in this vast universe, at least there will be the ability to protect itself. The next day, Chakra came to God Industry, as agreed. This time, if it weren't for you, we would have died in Mousy Country. In addition to the 50 kilograms of vibranium I promise you, I will give you another 100 kilograms to thank you for saving my life. That's a total of 150 kilograms of vibranium? Zheng Bin raised his eyebrows after hearing this. See, this number is very shocking for other countries in the world, except Wakanda. No country has so much vibranium now. Even the world superpower magnesium does not have it. Most of their vibranium has been used to make the shield of the captain of magnesium decades ago. Think about the value of vibranium and its scarcity. The king of Wakanda has shown his full sincerity. However, after T'Challa finished speaking, he showed an embarrassed expression on his face. He used to think that vibranium was the hardest metal in the world. He has always been proud of the fact that his country is rich in vibranium. So when Zheng Bin asked for vibranium, he definitely thought that Zheng Bin had discovered that the secret Wakanda is coveting their vibranium. It was not until he saw the silvery metal in Mousy Country that he realized that there was a metal on Earth that was even more powerful than vibranium. Zheng Bin called this metal mercury. How could this be mercury? T'Challa knew what mercury looked like. Mercury could not possibly have such hardness. He guessed that this metal must be very rare, perhaps from the universe. After all, Zheng Bin's entry and exit into the universe was as simple as going on vacation abroad. Since Zheng Bin had such a precious metal, how could he covet vibranium? T'Challa felt very embarrassed whenever he thought of his original guess. After hearing Zheng Bin say, "Happy cooperation. I am very happy to get such precious vibranium," Chala even suspected that Zheng Bin was mocking him. It was the first time that Chala felt that vibranium was not enough as a gift. So he said again, "Mr. Zheng, my gratitude to you is not something that vibranium can express. I, Chala, owe you a favor. If you need any help in the future, please feel free to contact me." Although Chala did not make a promise to Zheng Bin in the name of Wakanda, but the promise of the King of Wakanda, the current Black Panther, is still very important. Maintaining a friendly relationship with such a person is icing on the cake for Zheng Bin. Just as Zheng Bin and Chala were chatting and laughing, Pepper also rushed to the hospital where Tony Stark was in unmanned armor. After she walked into the ward, she saw two Avengers waiting by Tony Stark's bed. They were Black Widow and Captain Magnesium. At first glance, the two had just finished a battle and had not had time to take care of themselves. They looked disheveled and ragged. Pepper looked at Tony Stark lying unconscious on the hospital bed with distress. How is he now? He lost too much blood and fell into a coma temporarily, but he had a blood transfusion last night, so he should wake up soon. It's just that the wound on his leg will take some time to recover. Pepper was relieved after hearing this. As long as there is no danger to his life, it's fine. Captain America looked at the unmanned battle suit next to Pepper in confusion. Is this the bodyguard you brought specially? No, Pepper denied. This is actually... Hi, Captain. Tony Stark's voice came from the unmanned battle suit. I am Tony Stark's conscience. Black Widow, are you Tony Stark's backup? You can say that, but compared to backup, I prefer the word conscience. Captain Magnesium had already learned from Black Widow that Tony Stark had backed up his consciousness. He also knew that the backup had tried to invade Tony Stark's consciousness and wanted to turn him back to his original self. It's a pity that they failed. Captain Magnesium, I thought you were eliminated before. If you were always there, why didn't you come out during the San Francisco riots? Captain Magnesium's last sentence was questioning. Why did the Avengers go to great lengths to find Tony Stark? It was because only Tony Stark could solve the current situation in San Francisco. Now they suddenly knew that this good Tony Stark had always been there. If that was the case, why didn't he come out to help them? Pepper, you're right. He disappeared before. It's all my fault. I thought Tony's consciousness was integrated successfully and he had returned to his previous state. Who knew he was just acting? He deleted all the backups while I was careless. That's why Tony Stark's conscience never appeared. Pepper became more and more excited, and finally looked at Captain America with an accusing look. You and Tony have been comrades for so long. Don't you have even this little trust in him? Do you think the real Tony Stark will be indifferent to the state of San Francisco? Captain, please be fair. Don't deny his previous efforts just because Tony was affected and changed his personality. The person who made these mistakes is not the real Tony Stark, because he has a heart warmer than anyone else. After saying the last sentence, Pepper burst into tears. She missed the old Tony Stark more than anyone else. After hearing this, the captain of the Magnesium country felt ashamed and guilty. What happened in San Francisco during this period of time brought him too much pressure. He couldn't help but blame Tony Stark for mistakes. All this was caused by Tony Stark. It's all because he abused his intelligence. It's all his fault. Countless people blame Tony Stark in front of the captain of the Magnesium country, although he would explain for Tony Stark every time. But he is not a saint either. After listening to so many bad things about Tony Stark, his heart also shifted a little. If Tony Stark is not so smart, it would be better. Captain Magnesium had forgotten, and everyone had forgotten. Tony Stark had used his intelligence to save so many people. Captain Magnesium was so ashamed that he couldn't look Tony Stark in the eye. Then he felt someone patting his shoulder twice. Tony Stark's conscience said, "It's not your fault, Captain. You don't need to feel guilty about it." Captain America's eyes were red when he heard this. Black Widow was also very touched when she saw this scene. But she found a flaw in Pepper's words and had to ask in a spoiler's way. You just said that your backups were destroyed. So who is this Tony Stark? Pepper, I asked Zheng to help save a backup before. Tony's computer skills are so amazing that I didn't dare to ask Zheng to get the backup back before, for fear that he would find out, and even the last backup would be destroyed. After I confirmed that Tony was unconscious, I dared to go to Zheng to get the backup. Pepper's expression was very serious. This is the last backup. Black Widow, since there is a backup, why don't you save a few more now, in case it fails again? Tony Stark's conscience interrupted. What kind of crappy file is the backup of my consciousness? Can it be backed up by copying and pasting? A genius brain like mine is made up of huge data that you can't imagine. Do you think you can back it up with just a USB drive? It must be a special carrier to hold so much data. Please give me flowers, 0.0. Chili Pepper. Yes, those carriers have all been destroyed by Tony before. This is the last one. With the previous failed experience, Black Widow and Captain America both looked worried. If that's the case, can we solve the problem of San Francisco first, and then try to integrate? Tony Stark's conscience. I can't solve the problem of San Francisco either. My memory stays a few years ago. An extremist was completely evolved by him during the years I was missing. If I want to solve extremists, it will take several years. San Francisco can't wait that long. If it goes on like this, not only San Francisco, but the entire country of magnesium will be in chaos. And don't worry, this time we are not going to integrate, but replace. Replace. Yes, Tony Stark's consciousness is too strong now. If integrate, he will definitely devour me. There is no point in doing this. The only way now is for me to kill Tony Stark's consciousness and then transfer the backup into his body. Captain of Magnesium kill Tony? No, there must be other ways. Tony Stark said in a deep voice, this is the only way. Captain, are you willing to believe me? Believe that I do this for the people of San Francisco. Believe that I am not doing this to occupy Tony Stark's body. Believe that I don't want to kill the real Tony Stark more than anyone else. The expression of the captain of Magnesium was solemn. The decision to kill his good friend made him very painful. But in the end, he still said, I believe in your power. As soon as the captain of the Magnesium country finished speaking, the whole room seemed to be shrouded in a heavy atmosphere, and everyone's face was filled with complex emotions. Black Widow bit her lower lip tightly, her eyes flashing with unwillingness and determination. She knew the weight of this decision, but she had to face reality. Tony Stark's conscience slowly sighed, with a hint of imperceptible sadness in his voice. Thank you, Captain. I know how difficult this is for you. But please believe that this is the best solution and we can give 040. For San Francisco, for the world, we must do this. Pepper was on the side, her hands clenched into fists, her eyes slightly red. She whispered, Tony, he will definitely understand us, right? We are all trying to protect more people. Her voice was light but firm, as if she was cheering herself up and everyone else. However, at this critical moment, a rapid alarm suddenly sounded in a corner of the room, breaking the original calm. An emergency notice flashed on the screen, showing that the situation in San Francisco was deteriorating rapidly. The number of extremist infected people increased sharply, and the city was about to fall into the brink of total loss of control. No time. Black Widow stood up suddenly. His eyes were like torches. We must act immediately. There can be no more hesitation. The captain of the Magnesium country took a deep breath, and his eyes became unusually firm. Okay, we are ready to act. But Tony Stark's conscience, you must ensure that once the action begins, it must succeed. We can't have a second chance of failure. Don't worry, I will do my best. Tony Stark's conscience responded, revealing unquestionable determination in his tone. The plan was quickly formulated, and the group took the last backup and took a special flight, shuttling through the night and heading toward San Francisco. On the way, they were attacked by extremist-infected people, and a fierce air battle ensued. Black Widow relied on superb skills, and Pepper used her wisdom to command the flight to evade flexibly, while the captain of the Magnesium country was responsible for protecting the safety of the backup and preventing it from falling into the hands of the enemy. After a tough battle, they finally arrived at Tony Stark's private laboratory, which is the best place for consciousness replacement. Inside the laboratory, high-tech equipment is lined up, flashing cold light, and the air is filled with tension and expectation. Are you ready? Tony Stark's conscience asked, his voice echoing in the empty laboratory, and it seemed particularly heavy. Everyone nodded, no words, only firm eye contact. With the sound of mechanical operation, the experimental table slowly rose, and Tony Stark's body lay there quietly, like a sleeping giant, waiting for the final awakening. At this moment, there was a sudden roar outside the laboratory, and the breath of despair spread. The source of extremists, a huge amount of mutant creatures, was approaching here, and they were attracted by their actions. It seems that our time is more urgent than expected, Pepper said nervously. Her fingers tapped quickly on the console, trying to activate the defense system. Prepare for consciousness replacement. No matter what happens, it cannot be interrupted. Tony Stark's conscience issued the final order. His voice echoed in everyone's heart, inspiring them to face the upcoming unknown challenges. The lights in the laboratory suddenly lit up, and a contest concerning the fate of mankind began. In the core area of the laboratory, a blue light slowly enveloped Tony Stark's body, which was a sign that Tony Stark's conscience was about to replace Consciousness 3.3. The surrounding high-tech equipment began to make a low buzzing sound, as if to make the final warm-up for this critical moment. Hold on. Pepper's voice was trembling with a subtle tremor. She stared at the data on the console to ensure that the whole process was foolproof. However, at this moment, the laboratory's defense system suddenly sounded an alarm, indicating that huge amounts of mutant creatures had broken through the outer defense line and were approaching rapidly. It's coming! Black Widow's voice came from the communicator with a hint of urgency. We must speed up. Tony Stark's conscience felt the turmoil in the outside world in the consciousness space. He took a deep breath and stabilized his mind. Everyone, stay calm. This is a final test. We can't fail. Captain Magnesium stood at the entrance of the laboratory, holding a shield, ready to meet the upcoming impact. His eyes were both determined and deeply worried about Tony. He knew that if this operation failed, not only Tony might never wake up, but the whole world would face huge amounts of crisis. For Tony, for everyone, I will guard here, Captain Magnesium said firmly, his voice echoing in the laboratory, injecting new strength into everyone. Just then, the mutant creature let out a deafening roar, and its huge body slammed into the door of the laboratory. Captain Magnesium fought hard to resist, but the huge amounts of impact still forced him to retreat again and again. Hurry! Faster! Pepper shouted anxiously. Her fingers fly on the console, trying to speed up the process of consciousness replacement. However, the power system of the laboratory fluctuated at this critical moment, and the blue light began to flicker. What's going on? Tony Stark's conscience asked anxiously in the consciousness space. The power system was attacked. Pepper replied, I'm trying my best to repair it, but it takes time. At this critical moment, Black Widow rushed out a hidden passage of the laboratory, holding 2 guns and firing at the eyes of the mutant. The hot bullets drew bright trajectories in the night sky, temporarily slowing down the attack speed of the mutant. Hold on, I'll find its weakness, Black Widow shouted, her voice full of determination. With the joint efforts of everyone, the power system of the laboratory finally returned to stability. The blue light lit up again, and Tony Stark's conscience began to slowly merge into Tony's body. However, at this moment, the mutant suddenly let out a deafening roar, as if it felt threatened, and launched a fierce attack again. Hurry! Finish it! The captain of the Magnesium country shouted. His shield was already full of cracks, but he still firmly guarded the entrance of the laboratory. Finally, after a crisp sound, the blue light suddenly shrank, and Tony Stark's eyes slowly opened, and a new light flashed in his eyes. He sat up suddenly and punched the mutant creature away, showing unprecedented strength. I'm back. Tony Stark's voice echoed in the laboratory, full of strength and determination. However, when his eyes swept over everyone, he found the fatigue and scars on their faces. His heart tightened, and he understood the price he paid for waking up. You have all paid too much for me. Tony Stark's voice was a little choked. I swear, I will use all my strength to protect this world and make up for everything I have lost. Under the leadership of Tony Stark, everyone worked together and finally defeated the source of Extremis 590. And Tony Stark also found his new mission and meaning in the process. He is no longer the genius inventor who only pursues personal glory, but has become a true hero, a man who is willing to give everything to protect the world. Tony Stark stood on the ruins after the war, looking at the smoke gradually dissipating in the distance, with mixed feelings in his heart. Although he won the battle with the Shadow Council, the sacrifices and hardships in the process made him unforgettable. He gently stroked the scratches on the armor, each of which was a testimony to their side-by-side battle. "Tony, we did it." The captain of the Magnesium Kingdom came over and patted him on the shoulder, with complex emotions flashing in his eyes. But this victory is only temporary. Although the Shadow Council has suffered a setback, their foundation has not been completely destroyed. Tony nodded, knowing this. He looked into the distance, and an unprecedented sense of responsibility surged in his heart. We must be more united, not only to prevent the revenge of the Shadow Council, but also to prevent similar threats from appearing again. At the same time, Tony's mind echoed the scene of fighting side by side with Obadiah Stane. Although they were enemies at the critical moment, Obadiah showed courage and wisdom that made him look at him with admiration. After the battle, the two had an in-depth conversation, and Obadiah expressed his willingness to spend the rest of his life to make up for past mistakes and become one of the forces protecting the world. "Tony, I am willing to be your backer, no matter what you need." Obadiah's voice echoed in Tony's ears, with a hint of sincerity and determination. Tony looked at Obadiah, and a warm current surged in his heart. He knew that the real hero did not lie in mistakes of the past, but in the choices and actions of the future. He decided to give Obadiah a chance, and also give himself a chance to build a more united and stronger League of Heroes. However, peace did not last long. Just as they were preparing to rebuild their home, a more powerful enemy quietly rose up, a mysterious organization calling itself Sons of Shadow. They claimed to inherit the legacy of the Shadow Council and continue to subvert the world order. Faced with new challenges, Tony and his teammates gathered again. They not only had to fight against the enemy, but also had to face internal differences and contradictions. The captain of Magnesium insisted on using traditional justice and courage to defeat evil, while Tony advocated using technology and innovation to solve problems. The dispute between the two put the team into an unprecedented crisis. "We can't just rely on the past, Tony." There was a hint of dissatisfaction in the voice of the captain of Magnesium. "Technology may bring greater disasters, but without technology, we may not even win this time." Tony retorted, his eyes full of determination. "We must find a balance between technology and justice." Just when the team was about to fall apart, an unexpected turn of events occurred. Obadiah Stane used his wisdom to develop a device that could neutralize the special ability of Shadow Sun. His move not only saved the team, but also made Tony and Captain Magnesium realize that true strength comes from unity and trust. In the end, under the leadership of Tony, the team worked together, used technology and wisdom, successfully defeated Shadow Sun, and once again protected world peace. This victory not only made Tony is more convinced of the importance of teamwork, and it also makes him understand the true meaning of a hero, not only possessing extraordinary strength and wisdom, but also having a heart that is willing to protect and save the world at all costs. Zheng walked out of the restaurant. The lights of Hell's Kitchen were dim in the night, and the streets under the neon lights were full of noise and vitality. He took a deep breath, feeling the coolness of night, and his heart was full of expectations. He knew that tonight, he would start to implement his social plan to expand his network and pave the way for his future. He first came to the police station and found Police Officer A. Police Officer A was a young policeman who was impressed by Zheng good deeds in Hell's Kitchen. The two sat down and talked about what happened recently, from the security of Hell's Kitchen to their respective dreams and pursuits. Zheng won the trust of Police Officer A with his sincerity and wisdom, and the two soon became friends. "Zheng, you are really different." Police Officer looked at him and said, "In this chaotic place, you can maintain your principles, which is really rare." Zhao Zheng smiled, knowing that his actions had been recognized. He patted police officer A on the shoulder. We all have the responsibility to make this world a better place, don't we? Afterwards, Zheng Bin visited the residential area of Hell's Kitchen and talked cordially with the residents to understand their lives and needs. He proved with his actions that he is not only a restaurant owner, but also a person who is willing to contribute to the community. His actions not only won the respect and trust of the residents, but also allowed him to gradually build his own network of contacts.
Hello, everyone. As we wrap up this video, I want to share a quick note. I have a Patreon account. If you'd like to support me and enjoy on-demand audiobooks, you can become a Patreon member. Alternatively, you can check out my Google Drive link, which has 500+ novel audiobooks available through my Ko-fi or Patreon shop. I appreciate your support.